This conference will now be recorded.
In order. Wayne, would you lead us in the pledge, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, is there the minutes from last month? Any discussion or changes or additions to those?
Nope, wait. There is going to be one change. It's kind of gonna be just under probably public comment. You have a surveyor that asked if he could come and visit a little bit about a pending project down Boulder Canyon.
That's for last month's meeting? Or
This one's for the agenda for this.
Till the next.
Oh, sorry.
We don't have a copy.
I'll still move.
No, you
I'll
did
still-
that before.
I'll second the minutes then.
Minutes is fine.
Any discussion?
Oh, it's fine.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed, same sign.
No, the minutes we don't print. Well, we print one to be signed, but you get them.
That's okay. I printed them out at home. but
Okay, okay. Sorry, the agenda.
Yep, any additions or corrections?
There's going to be an addition sort of under the public comment. Brad Linville's gonna stay and visit with you about a pending project.
Okay. Anything else?
Move to approve as amended. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, any conflicts?
None here. Just want to know that number 11 is my neighbor. Other than that, I don't believe there's conflict. I just want it out there for everybody to know.
Are you financially involved with it in any way?
No,
Or involved in any way whatsoever?
other than being a neighbor, no.
Mr. Chair,
So,
Good, numbers.
teach anything you can be fair and impartial in any decision making that you make? Yes.
Okay, does anybody have any problems with TJ being involved with that one? Okay,
So just make a note of it. Okay, thank you.
all right. Anything else? Okay, public hearing for CUP 45126, So our format for a public hearing is that we'll hear from the applicant and Amber, and then after that, we will open it up to the public for comments. We ask that you please address the board and not each other. And when you stand up or when you want to speak, please stand up and say your name and your address to help with the minutes. And then after all the public comment is over, we'll turn it back to the board, at which time we ask you to please refrain from our discussion unless you're asked, and then we will make our decisions. So any questions? All right, Amber?
Okay, this is a public hearing for conditional use permit 45126. What that means is there's already an existing CUP out on this property. That's CUP 451. They're doing an amendment to that original, which is why you get the year of 2026. So we know that there was an amendment done to the original CUP. This is the property located just down Boulder Canyon. It used to be the Jehovah's Witnesses building. It sat empty for a lot of years, and then Marta purchased it, lives on site, and then has a dog boarding facility in there with some other little things, but it's all inside the existing church building. And so with that, zoning is park forest. It's right at the corner of 76 Ranch Road and Highway 14A, Boulder Canyon. Currently has the CUP. They've been operating for quite a few years now, but it has become, we'll say she's ran a good business, and so therefore she would like to add the number of dogs out there now. There was an original, I think it was 20 some dogs originally. She would like to about double that just with the usage that she has, and everything's been running well. We've never received a complaint the entire time that she's been out there. And then she would also like to add a grooming facility. That was kind of already mentioned in her original CUP, but now she actually has someone that can, be qualified and actually be out there. She would like to add a cat boarding room. Cats also need a place to go when their families are traveling, so she would like to be able to add a place to have cats there. And then do some different events and site improvements. One of the things that she mentioned at the informational is during big events in Deadwood, trailer parking is always an issue. Especially like during the rodeo events, there's not enough places to put those. And she is paved and has some grass area out there. So she would like to allow them to just be able to park out there with their trailers and have the horses there during those events. It won't be all the time. It's just one kind of overflow area for parking. So she did include that in this amendment. It's all an existing access. It comes off right off 76 Ranch and then comes in. There's no floodplain on the property. Like I said, we did not receive any. The considerations are listed in there for the board. You can review those if you have any questions. The conditions are basically the existing conditions that were in place. And then we just moved them over. And you can see in here, we added the dog area here. Other than that, they're really because that was an existing condition. So we just have to show that she can have more than that 20. So that's what that is. The cats and things like that, I didn't put a condition on because that's all inside the building. So she's using existing space. And then if you remember, she also talked about where you drive under. Right now, there's like a little drop-off area that you drive under. She wants to enclose that drive-through area. And that is just a building permit. I don't think she really needs permission as part of the CUP to enclose that portion of the structure. So that's what I have, and they are both present if you have questions for Marta or the builder.
Okay, you guys can go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw, well, I guess I don't need a CUP for the addition, but for cat boarding, we do get lots of inquiries for cats to board them. And then also for an additional number of dogs. Like in one day, we'll have the daycare dogs, and then we'll also have boarders. So it's not always that number overnight, but having both of those two services, sometimes, you need more. But we do have the space for more. I'm just coming to ask to see if we can add more. I am very good about respecting my neighbors, even if there is a funeral. next door. We always make sure the dogs are inside, and so I'm very cautious, and I make sure that everything is enclosed in our little area. And then the vending, you know, I like to do a dog show or something, or have vendors out there, and like a food truck, and just stuff for kids to do, and trailer parking for Cool Deadwood nights, for the old cars, they bring the trailers. And then for the rally, they haul their bikes, and then also for the Days of 76. So I think I touched on all the things I was hoping to do out there.
Thank you. Okay, any other comments? Anyone? Okay, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, I don't think so. Thank you.
Okay, and then one more time from the public?
Online.
Okay. All right, we'll close the public hearing and bring it to the board. Any discussion, thoughts?
I do have a comment on item 16. It says maximum of
Yeah.
50 plus dogs. That could go to 500.
That can be a problem.
whatever you
What's the
wanna
max
do.
we're looking at?
Well, she asked for 50, I think is what you had said.
Right.
So I don't know, I guess, if you want to max on that or not, I'm not sure.
The max of dogs. So, I mean, like, I think, if I could ask for like 55.
I think that's, I don't know if you understand, but sometimes there's a overlap in dog. The daycare dogs overlap as the boarding
Okay.
dogs come in.
The morning
Sure.
My
dogs.
question is that still going to cap at 55? That's
Yeah, well,
no
we,
matter what kind of dog they are, overlap or
I see.
part-time, we
Yeah.
need a max.
Yeah.
Or do you want to max it at, I mean, I think
you want 100?
Yeah, you
60
wanna-
maybe,
Yeah, let's
or,
go
I mean,
100.
I'm just saying, would you want to make sure you're not having to come back?
Do you have room for 100?
Well, I mean, right now, no, but, if I were to ever move out and do addition onto where I'm living, I suppose I would come back and ask.
That would be a different.
Yeah, I think we need to.
So it's
About
current space
75.
now. How much current space do you have now?
Current space would be for 55.
So that's probably where it should.
Okay,
55?
So you're talking about boarding.
right, yeah.
You could
Well,
board-
no,
No, I'm talking cap
How
between
many can
boarding
you
and
board?
daycare.
That's a hard question, because if they're family, you could have maybe 3 or 4 if they allow. If we have bigger kennels or smaller kennels, or, I'd say 40 boarding, and then sometimes, you know, at the most for daycare, I'd have 30. So,
Well, 70.
So that's 70,
Let's
yeah.
just call it 75.
Yeah,
But we don't want you to get in trouble as well.
Yeah.
We don't want to set a number
Okay.
that's not realistic.
can I ask for 75 then?
I don't have a problem.
I don't need any over that.
On the overlap.
Yeah, as long as it's understood, that's
Especially with
not,
no
I mean,
complaints.
you've got rules and
That's
regulations, so
unusual.
in terms of boarding, you couldn't put more in than you've got capacity for.
Yeah,
So
'cause I'll have-
obviously, we're talking the dogs coming in for daycare, people picking, but not
Right.
dropping them off, whatever.
Yeah, because I have like a software that says total during the day, and I have drop off in the mornings and pick up in
Yeah.
the mornings, pick up and that'll be like a total. So yeah, 75.
I would make a motion to approve CUP number 451-26 with the amended item 16 to 75.
Second.
Okay, discussion on that? Everybody comfortable? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Alright. Get her packet.
One other thing I just realized that we need to do since Kelly's gone is appoint a secretary.
Yeah.
Can we do that quick?
Move the TJ's secretary.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Congratulations.
Was that Jennings a second?
It was.
Okay.
All same railroad.
The strategically seating chart here we have.
Yeah, it works out well.
I'll have to move.
It's really efficient.
Okay, same thing, send out your notices for the next hearing, so make sure you just follow the stuff in there.
Okay, perfect. And now.
Because your sign is already up, right?
Yep.
Yep, so the 26th.
Okay.
So you'll have to probably get those notices out pretty quick again.
Pretty quick, okay.
Yeah, because that's a quicker turnaround.
Yeah, okay, thank
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Thank you.
So this is done. I'm going to just put this in here. You had a note to have her sign it. Yeah.
All right, our next item is a public hearing for ordinance 2601. This is also a public hearing. Is there anyone in the audience that didn't hear the procedure for a public hearing already that needs to hear it again? Okay, move forward. So this is for Carly Messner and Highway Service Commercial Zoning District. Amber?
Yeah, so this one is is just to change the highway service commercial district to include the retail sales and trade. We already have a definition for it. It was just never added into the highway service commercial designation as a CUP list item, basically. But we created a definition for a different zoning district, so we added it to definitions. It just wasn't put into the list. So in order to do the next application, we have to kind of do a two-part. This would be first. And this is a ordinance change, so you guys make a decision here, and then it goes to county commission for a first and second reading. So it's kind of that longer process at county commission.
Okay, anything from the applicant?
Took into consideration some of the parking questions that you had last time, so.
We're not to that application yet, so let's get through this part and then we'll get to your CUP.
I don't believe I have anything for this part. then.
Nope, you don't.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
So I do have, is it changing it from residential to commercial, or what's the change? I'm
No.
sorry, I didn't.
Same thing.
Yeah, can you please state your name and
Oh,
address?
I'm sorry. I'm Jan Goodsell. I
Okay.
live at 384 Evans Lane in Fairfield.
Thank you.
But I think the question is gonna pertain to the next application, not this one. This is just an ordinance change. It's not the actual CUP, which is, I think, what your questions are about, Jan.
Okay,
So what we're doing here is adding the retail sales and trade to highway service commercial district. So
As a
that's
conditional
a
use.
conditional use in that district.
We're not changing the zoning on that spot. We're just adding what they can do
Retail
within
sales.
that zoning area.
the retail sales.
Yes.
That or any other area that it applies, because it sounds.
Anywhere that's commercial.
Which it should have been in there all along. It was just,
Yeah,
it's
it
kind of
just
what
wasn't.
highway service commercial probably should include retail sales and trade.
So are you questioning what the area is zoned as now?
Well, and I understand it is zoned as R2.
Yes.
No, it's not. It's
No.
owned highway service commercial.
It's this particular district. That's what I thought you were questioning.
Oh, okay.
So it's
Well, then
already
I guess
zoned.
I was not aware of that part of it.
Yeah.
I thought it was R2.
Any other comments? Okay, we'll close the public hearing, discussion.
I think it cleans it up.
Yep.
I make a motion to approve.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, next one will be for public hearing for CUP 501 for Mile High Construction LLC and Root Wellness.
Okay, so this one is
Is
for.
there, yeah, nobody new, is there? Okay.
So this one is the actual conditional use permit. So how this is gonna work is the ordinance change that was just added in will have to take effect before you can actually do an approval on this, which would be normal because this will go to county commission or to the Board of Adjustment and kind of go through that process. So when we get to the end of this, I'll kind of explain that, but overall, this is an existing highway service commercially zoned property. R2, just to kind of go off of what you asked, that would only be if it was inside city limits. This is not inside the city limits. So it is zoned highway service commercial by the county regulations. They are requesting to take the existing building that is there, it's a house currently. And they would like to be able to put in a retail sales and trade business for professional therapeutic services inside that building, a wellness programming area, and some very limited retail sales that'll be directly related to the type of health development and education that's taking place within that building, within those therapeutic services. And then they would be, there's existing access off of the road that's there. Parking is something that was talked about, and based on the current square footage of the actual usable space inside that building, they need 6 spots is all that would be required according to the retail sales and trade section. And then with that, the city of Spearfish has to determine all of the building permits, floodplain requirements, and also the parking gets brought forward as, like, to make sure it actually gets put in. That's kind of all part of that building permit process. But our regulations of the 6 spots would be required to be met. So they have to provide 6 parking spaces with the, a spot being for handicapped. It has to be handicap accessible. So that's kind of where our parking stuff goes in. But our process, because it's a CUP and it's not in our jurisdiction, they would not do a full development plan necessarily because we aren't issuing the building permit. So any conditions that you put on here, I would then send those to the city of Spearfish for their building. So that's kind of how that 2-part is going to work with this. Because of some of the questions that came up at the last meeting, I did have a Teams call with the applicants to go through the off-street parking regulations. You can see that in here. I put it in as a condition that they have to meet the standards set out in our ordinance. And then when we discussed it, they went through a couple of different revisions of, meeting the, was it 9 by 18? I think it was 9 by 18 space. Can they meet that requirement with where they want to put the parking and all of that stuff? And so they were able to do that. We did talk about the sign permit being issued. So prior to an occupancy permit by the city, they do still have to come back to us for a sign permit. Like if they wanted to put, like Root Wellness out in the front yard or something like that, they'd have to go through that proper procedure to do that. That's also in there. Your normal basic stuff regarding water quality, and any construction of new buildings would have to go through the city of Spearfish as well. Hours of operation, I put in there 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. She did ask for it to be Monday through Sunday because there's going to be different schedules depending on what is going on. I didn't know about that one, but I put it in there as she requested. It is on the Spearfish Sanitary District, so there is no septic system on that property. So we've always kind of asked that question on, make sure that they don't need extra space for septic. It is on the Sanitary District currently. She'll have to do weed control just like any other property that we have. So those were really the only conditions. I think with this one, it's one of those things that it is directly, it's pretty much surrounded on 3 sides with commercially zoned property already. And then we did put in here that if it was approved, well, you can approve it. Board of Adjustment is going to have a condition at that point, because we would have to condition an approval based on the ordinance taking effect, if that makes sense. So that's more of a Board of Adjustment decision than it is planning and zoning.
Yep.
So that is all I have. The landowner is here. Do you have anything else to add, Carly, or did that kind of explain everything?
Covered it, unless there's any more questions that you guys have.
Okay. We'll open it up to the public now. So any comments?
Yeah, I
Can you
do.
state your name and address, please? Sorry.
Okay. Jan Goodsell, Spearfish. I live right next door to the south of this property at 384 Evans Lane. And Cole, the person who rebuilt the house, and we were so thrilled when he did give us a tour. So I have seen the inside of the house. My concern at this point, and you guys did mention the parking, and I don't know, I haven't seen anything of any changes to the parking that have been proposed, so I'm not aware of what that part of it would be. But the parking is probably my primary concern, because as it stands right now, I've only ever seen 4 vehicles parked in that driveway. And I don't know, unless there's changes made somehow, I don't really know how you would get 6 in there. And so then consequently, any additional parking would have to be on the street. And the ditch in front of that house has a deep, it's a kind of a deep ditch, so they can't pull off the road into the ditch because it is steep. So consequently, they would be parking in front of our house, which I honestly don't have a problem with that. My concern with that is that, and I don't understand why people do this, but when they park in front of our house, they don't pull fully onto the grass. They tend to be partially on the grass, and part of their vehicle is on the road, so consequently people need to move over. And most of the time that's really not a problem either, except probably about in the 3 o'clock hour of Monday through Friday when school, after school, because buses come down that road and a lot of parents with their school kids. And the traffic backs up even past our driveway almost on a daily basis because they're waiting to make their turns at the stop sign. So if there are vehicles parked so that they're partially on the street, that narrows the availability for the traffic to flow. And I have seen a few close calls over the years, and so that is a concern that I have. I don't mind having parking in front of our house as long as they pull up to the fence and completely on the grass, but I don't think it's safe for them to park so that they're partially on the street. And I'm assuming that eventually there are going to be needed more than 6 parking spots within the property because there are 3 potential offices. They'll need a receptionist. They might have something going on in the garage. So that right there takes up most of the parking for the staff. So then where do the clients park? So yeah, that's pretty much what my concern is.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead.
I definitely understand and also don't want parking on the street because if you think about Evans and how that gets
Very heavy.
yeah, and so in order to fulfill the requirements for the proposal, you know, the 6 spots were drawn in there, but other ideas that would work is, you know, on the south side, which is the bottom of that there, you know, we're considering 1 or 2 extra parallel parking. The backyard along that east side, you know, there could be parking as well. And so taking all those concerns, the community's concerns into account, because right now there's gravel on the south side and the north side, you know, and nothing has been done as far as parking lots being made yet. But that could be stretched all the way to the east, you know, that where a fence needs to go in, that backs up to Guadalajara, you know, so. I mean, there's
Also,
lots-
they could drive past the
So, like,
house into the backyard.
Yeah, so on the, I see on the bottom there,
So you could go past the house and into the back then.
Oops.
Yeah, backs up to another parking lot.
Yeah,
And
that's
this is
up
the
to
Gloss parking
Guadalajara's.
back here.
But then, so then would you have a fence between your property and Guadalajara's?
There needs to be a fence anyway for the backyard if there's any, in programming and, because it's a pediatric facility. And so a fence needs to be built anyway. And some of those trees that are probably on Guadalajara's property will need cleaned up, to make space for that. But really more so on that south side is where I would picture, instead of two, which were in that diagram, you know, having like 3 parallel. I don't know, I'm describing that to you guys, you know, to the east edge.
So Evans Lane is going along this side? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so my understanding was that the backyard would be a playground?
Yeah,
Would
there'll
you
be
have
play
still-
space from the house back to the fence. And I'm saying if one day it was so busy and we needed over 10 spots, that is open. The most immediate thing that makes sense to me is on the south side, making like 3 parallel spots. So that would make for a total of 7, which would exceed the requirements. And
Yeah, their site plan submitted meets our standards. They need 6 spots. And so they're looking, you would pull in, there would be no parking on Evans Lane. So you would pull in, there would be spots in the front yard. Basically, this would become, and then 2 spots over here.
So then the front yard would become parking area and
Yep.
not a yard.
Correct.
there'd be a little bit of.
Little bit of yard
like,
still
in front
over
of
here.
the-
So it would come in the driveway and have here and here.
Okay. Okay, and as long as, you know, I don't have any objections otherwise, you know, I just, because there were going to be children involved, I was concerned about children being on the street because I've got 2 grandkids and there's no way my kids can even be on that street because it's too dangerous.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we'll close the public hearing. Discussion?
So we have a minimum, but they have to, she has to take this to the city.
No,
For the
6
building
spots
permit?
is all they'll be required to do.
Okay. But they can submit something. I mean, this is a process. So when it comes time to work with the city for the building permits and all
More
of
than
that.
likely, they're just gonna look at my conditions.
Okay.
And so in the conditions, it says they need 6 spots. They'll just make sure the 6 spots get put in as part of the building
But
permit.
if the owner wanted to change that.
If they want to do more, they could, yes.
Nothing's stopping them from doing.
Right.
Yeah, if they want to do more in the back or something like that, they
Right.
definitely could, yes.
Move to approve.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Discussion? All in favor, say aye. Oh, go ahead.
Well, I'm the vote in favor of this, and I'm concerned about the parking, but it does meet our standards. So that's why I would need to vote for it. But I am concerned about the employees taking up a lot of the spaces and not having room for customers is my concern. But if it meeting our standards, that's what we need to do.
It's part of their business plan. They can figure that out.
Yeah.
And the street parking, that's law enforcement. It's not our position.
That is, I just hate to put them in that position.
Yeah.
I do know that I did have a conversation. They are aware that they may have to add some spots, maybe specifically like have the employees park on the backside so that the front parking is available.
And if I may, they will be driving out forward and not backing out of the property. Okay, because I don't even back out.
I mean, I can't control that
We can't
necessarily,
control
but
people.
Right.
the way that it, that's why they laid it out, so they could back out and
There's
go
sufficient
forward.
room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's dangerous to back.
Yep.
Okay,
And
we
where's
have,
your home? You're on this side?
I'm on the south side, directly on the
Yeah,
south
right here.
side. Yeah, that's our house.
okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay. Okay, the next item is recommendation meeting for Pro Peak Properties.
All right.
Development plan number 2601.
So, development plans are a little bit different. Zoning is already in place, so it is zoned highway service commercial. There is no, additional zoning requirements that have to be met. But with highway service commercially zoned property, if they're making a substantial change or anything like that to what is already existing, then we have them do a development plan to kind of show you how they're going to develop that out. Crow Peak Properties over the years has been very controversial. There are a lot of phone calls to that area regarding parking, people pulling off the road, outdoor events, things like that, but it is zoned appropriately. So this meeting is not about that because it is zoned properly. It has been there. I know not all the landowners down there agree with that. I do know that they get upset with the bans and the different things that take place out there. I recognize that. So I just wanted to kind of throw that out there because I do think a lot of the concerns that we're going to hear are related to parking and the noise. But that is not really, one, the county doesn't have a noise ordinance, and two, parking is being met with, again, parking regulations, the number of spots that they need. So this first part is requesting to update and add some parking, remodel the stage area, which it kind of has already been done, but we're bringing it into compliance because they started working on it last year. There was some changes made over the last couple summers. It actually kind of helps a little bit because it's a little more designated of this is the area for people to sit in, and you don't have cars pulling in and then kids running in and out of the cars. And I think it is a little better to how it is now. But I did ask, like, let's go ahead and just talk about all these things at once. There is a remodel of the restaurant area, the fence area around the stage, umbrellas, picnic tables, pergolas, planting grass. Like there's all sorts of stuff that they're just kind of cleaning the property up. So with that, we went through this. I believe it's in compliance with everything. I don't really see anything that they would need to do. We will have John Bay go look at them, and again, over the years, he's gone out there and made sure, if you remember, there's some little markers that got put up so people aren't pulling out right by the stop sign there. I think every once in a while he has to be reminded to go make sure those haven't gotten taken out or driven over or, whatever. But I don't think we've had much complaints since those went in there. I mean, it's a lot better, a more controlled access on that side. You don't have people just driving out. And then we would just want to make sure that, again, City of Spearfish does the building permit. That's kind of how this all started. He went in there to work through that process and then ended up getting kicked back to us. So we just want to make sure that we're working directly with the city to make sure as they are adding things that they are always constantly going back to this development plan to look at the parking regulations, because that's really what causes that problem. Is we just got to make sure they don't lose any parking. And then if you look inside the packet, you can read all of this. This is just kind of his phasing. I did talk to the landowner and we kind of decided to go through this of kind of some phased stuff. For right now, he's just looking at kind of cleaning up what was there. The original design was done back when this first got built, and the parking area kind of changed over the years. It just got moved around a little bit. So ultimately we had him do a new plan to show that he did not lose any parking spaces to what is required based on the square footage of the actual building.
And what's that number? Is it on here somewhere?
It
I
is
missed
in
it.
here. It's
Sorry.
probably easier.
I'm just
if
curious. I'm learning.
I think it was 30.
Okay, that's
five, I wanna say,
all right, thanks.
I can go through it.
That's okay.
But we just had to go through based on the square footages. Now that may change, and that's what he talked about in here. There's a phase 2, additional parking and stuff like that. But for right now, what's there without adding on we'll say the adjacent property, without adding on the adjacent property, the spots within meet the requirements that he needs. Now, if he's gonna add on that additional property, that's a different question. And if you look in your packet, he has gone through and detailed that all out for you. There's also some information in here for the addition someday, maybe not right away, but someday. That's also in here. He wanted you to be aware of it, to show the plans of if they decide to enclose that area. So, and then Mark is here too, if you guys have specific questions for him.
Can I summarize too?
Yeah, go for it.
First of all, I'm really sorry that phase 1 is really done.
Yeah.
It was my fault. I made a sketch working with Bruce, not the engineer, but the guy who draws it all up. And I went into the city to get the building permit to remodel Pit 14, which was the old Buc-ee's. And that stage they had out there was falling over. And I got the building permit for that. And they had the drawing. And I was not aware that they didn't do the whole process. And somewhere along the way, somebody caught, I think when I took the bigger one in to see about bathrooms with them, Amber, you'd sent an email, and then I realized that there were 2 parties to work with. So I apologize for not even bringing the print that I drew up first into here. Really what we did already was fix the problems that you mentioned and listen to the lady on Evans Lane. When I got involved at the end of October, the place really was run down. They were in severe financial trouble, and I decided to partner with them and help them. And it was clear that it was a disaster waiting to happen, to be quite honest. And it's drinking on top of it. They had the stage outside. Everybody would run around on the busy nights. And the parking, that middle row they had, they couldn't put cement barriers in it to define it, because when there's no one there, you just run over them. It will be a mess. So I worked with Bruce and the engineer, and we just decided to move the cement around to the back, fence in the area. And the people who were complaining, the Harrises back there, they're kind of landlocked. He's now really happy because he's got an access that goes straight in off of Highway 14 to him on the new drawing. And we abandoned the one on the side because it really wasn't an access for him. Had a tree in the middle of it at the end. So he had actually, the people who came in had to pull into the stage area to even get to his property. And most of the time, customers parked in that area. So if you went there today, you would see what was there, short 2 spots. It was 60 spots. And when we redid everything, it is short 2 spots right now. But there is a concrete barrier for everything. The people, where people wander out of the bar, the fence is done and is completed. The stage is to code, and the restaurant's back up to code because it was not to code out there. The real phase 2, I stopped on, which is actually to help. It's way above the parking we need, but to be quite honest, when you have a big band there, you need all the spots, and it's once or twice a month. So the other property, the guy who owned it, I forget his name, that I've requested, I actually entered into a contract to buy the whole property, but then my friends moved up from Phoenix with us. They bought the house, and I entered into a 99-year lease with, it's recorded too, I believe now, with a first right of refusal on it, so I can never lose the lease. And one day I'll just buy the property and make it part of it, and maybe one day, if everything works, we'll buy the rest of it down the road, but that's way down the road. I'm waiting to get approval so I can gravel that spot right now over there, because it brings the spots up, I think, to 78 on the plan, which we had the biggest day ever on Friday that since I've been involved with them parking, and there were only 4 people parked out on Evans Lane. And had I had that done, the parking would have handled it with 78, which I think the community will appreciate it. The fences are up in the back. It's muffled the music. It's way better than it used to be. It was a lot of problems that I found, and it was not sustainable the way it was. There's a piece, you look on that parcel that I could do it today, but there's like a, I don't know what you call it, the guy and the homeowner had a fire pit thing out there. And
right here.
that's the part that I would eventually take another 10 spots if we ever build onto it. The print you have shows a covered deck on top of the existing deck. I don't think we'll ever do that. The only part we'll add is more bathrooms outside and a big storage area for beer. It won't be any more customer space because it's pretty much maxed at what it is right now. So it would be only brewery space we would ever come back for. And even if we did that, we would do the other spot and add the other. I think it brings it up to 99 at that point. So it's really about fixing the mess that was there. And if you guys go there now, I think you'd see a big difference in it. And it's a lot safer. And I think the neighbors are happier. And the Harrises, I was out there at Friday night, and we even went back and put barrier with private signs now delineated because people were still driving into his property. And him and I said, if that doesn't work, we're gonna build a fence there and we'll put an electronic gate that only he can control. So he's happy, and
And you're talking right here, right? This is Harris.
Yeah, because there's no way in and out there.
And this is his access. He comes out
Yeah,
right through here. He has to drive through the parking lot.
And that's now the new dedicated one that
Yeah.
got recorded for him.
Yep,
Because
it
it
comes
didn't work
straight
on
out
the
this
side
way.
for him. He's happy, and Saturday we built that little fence and put no private property signs up, and all weekend long it worked. So I think we've solved the problem there for him, so.
So basically what we're looking at here, the first phase, like I said, is to move. He was asking for permission to move the 10 parking spaces from the north side to the west side. I will tell you, it's already done. I mean, he did do it, but he wanted to spell it out for you just so he could show you what he did. The patio and stage area with the fence for Betty Safe, that's already happened. There's a barrier now around so they can't just run out. And you can kind of see it. This is not current imagery. This is what it used to look like. But if you go there now, this is that parking area that was causing a little bit of concern here because it was right next to where people were at. So this is all got fencing sort of around it. The stage is down here and rebuilt. It's not just the truck bed that used to sit there. The access easement for the Harris property, it has been recorded. We checked on that. So it's actually a recorded easement now, which is good. And that's coming in and out of here. And then the old access was fenced off at both ends, creating a secure enclosed area. And then, the buildings over here have, remodeled, and that all goes through the city of Spearfish. Their existing buildings, that was all included in their parking. So that's kind of that first phase, which he has completed already, but now it would be included in this.
And just for my education, so how far down that, what is it, south? Whatever, is it zoned, highway commercial? I'm just trying to learn. Because across the street
is 2 parcels.
Okay, just those two. Huh,
So the one that was purchased
Sure.
here
So
is
the-
where he would
okay.
like to extend that parking into this area. And then basically the one across the street, which is Carly Mesner, which was right before him, is this one here.
Okay.
And then it goes, the campground, and you can kind of
So
see
it's all
that here,
consistent.
all over here.
I periodically have experience down there, and yes, he has improved it immensely. And this additional parking will make a world of difference for everybody around them. It again, as we said earlier, you can't control people, and they'll park in odd places and ridiculous places, but more than meeting his requirements and cleaning it up. And yes, the music's directed properly, and everything he said is very nicely done.
Yeah, so I think the one question, and this is kind of Bruce, you'll probably have to maybe do something with this, but we've never had the situation, the 99-year lease, we were waiting on that, we got that. And that would be for the additional property that he does not own, but he has an active lease on it. From what I can tell in our parking regulations, there's some verbiage that says that basically as long as they can prove that they have a perpetual, that it doesn't go away, that if they put a parking lot in, it could always be used by that commercial property, we could do it. So I think we would just want Bruce, if you guys choose to do that and you include that phase 2, which is the addition of the parking, I just want Bruce to probably double check that lease and make sure we don't have any issues. Do you agree with that? Or do you?
I don't think.
It's been, did it get recorded actually? I
Yes,
think it did.
It did. You guys changed something and we had to redo it and it got recorded, but on it, it's based on a 10-year AM. You don't see that and won't have recorded.
Right.
It's based on a 10-year AM, which we actually own it after the end of 10 years. And
Okay.
that can't be changed. So it can never
I
be,
think it'll be
according
all
to
right.
our attorneys, for me, it can never go away from the property.
So that would be the only thing. I knew Bruce did not have a chance to look at that recorded lease yet. So that would be something. But that was the phase 2 that he has in his packet, is that portion. So if you approve the development plan, I would like to specify phase 1 has been approved. That's done because he's already done with that. Phase 2, and that would be the 99-year lease. And then the site plan showing the additional parking spaces. And then I don't think,
Phase 3, I would come back to you.
well, and I don't know, in all honesty, if you meet the parking requirements, I think it's just gonna be a building permit. It would basically be when they add on to the building.
Yeah.
But I think it would go as much as, I mean, we could come back as another development plan if you wanted to, but ultimately the parking just has to be met. So you would be, just so everybody knows, it's phase 1, phase 2, and then that last part. And he would, like he said, he would come back and, if he's gonna add on to the building.
Okay. Any other discussion? So this one, we need to vote on the approval and recommendation.
Yep, you make a recommendation to the county commission.
Okay.
And then they will hold a public hearing at county commission, because that's how development plans work.
Move to approve.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
So, go through here. Give me 2 seconds here to make sure. Is Harley still? We gotta get that to Harley. I forgot to give it to her. Okay, that's all we have then for that one.
Okay, and next item is variance number 222 for St. Ange Volunteer Fire Department.
All right. I'm gonna pull it up on the map because it's kind of. Well, this is a long time coming project, I can tell you that much. I don't know how many times we've talked to the fire department about this one. So this is in St. Ange, where there was an old fire department building there.
How was a commercial building for what, the Furwell Brothers building?
It was an old building. And they have been going through processes, working with property owners. They had to work with was it the water district? The water, St. Ange Water.
Water and sewer company.
Yep, to make sure that they could have, water and sewer there, because it is a small lot. Now, this is one of those areas, St. Ange is, we'll say is different because it's a township when it comes to like the water and stuff like that. But our zoning regulations and our building regulations we still do that. So the county does all of those things, but the water and all of that, we don't control. So they had to deal with those situations first. There was an old alley that went through, you can still see a portion of it, but it actually went through here. So they had to go through that process to deal with that old alleyway, and there was all sorts of fun things.
Is that the main road that's going there that goes to?
This is, the highway runs.
Orient.
Yep, the highway, here, let's turn some of these.
The highways on the left, the railroads.
See Highway 34.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Where's the?
That's okay, Amber, I just wanted to clarify that.
I don't know what layer that is.
City rooftop, maybe?
That must be it. There we go, showing St. Ange. Yeah, so here's your highway over here.
Yeah.
And then this is the railroad grade. There's the railroad that runs right there, so that's your railroad area there. And then you have the property here. So because of the location and how narrow that lot is, they are requesting a variance to be able to build the new fire station in there. And they're requesting a 23 foot 7-inch variance to the front setback requirement of 25 feet off of the railroad right of way. So it's not, this is just weird because we have a road, then we have a railroad. And we can do that, but because a railroad right of way is a public right of way, it would be the same. You still have to go through the variance process. And then if you go through their packet in here. So this kind of shows you, it's gonna be on the non-skinny part, we'll say, is where they're gonna fit the building right in here. So this is that corner. So the rest of, up here, it's meeting the setback, but it's this little triangle of the building that will not meet the setback. So they tried to push it over as far as they could to be 10 foot. On the other side, 25. But even if they pushed it all the way to the property line on this side, they still couldn't get it out of that right of way. I shouldn't say that. The setback to the right of way.
And there's 75 feet to the tracks.
There is 75 feet to the actual railroad. Yep. So you've got quite a distance.
That's if we granted them the variance.
Yes, that's if you
So
gave
it's
them
100
the-
feet right now, right?
And what's the requirement?
25 foot setback. It's
No, no, to the, I mean, does the fact that it's a railroad have some
it's just a
other?
public right of way.
Alright.
So it's a 25 foot setback from any public right of way,
Okay,
whether that's the road or in this case, it's a railroad.
okay.
And the railroad right of way is a 75 foot right of way. So you actually, to the road, you're 75 feet plus the railroad, plus probably another 30 feet till you hit the highway.
And the 10 foot is the right side setback.
10 foot is the setback on that side, yes.
On the side.
So they meet the setback on this side and they meet the setback on the front of Center Street. But because this is a public right of way, so in theory, I could have considered that a 10 foot setback. But because it's a public right of way, because the railroad grade is there, it's a 25 foot setback. Does that make sense? Even though they're not driving in and out of this way, they'll be driving here. So there will be no vehicles coming in and out of this side. They'll be coming out onto Center Street. So it's literally just the corner of this building. So this is one of those situations, a fire, usually with other buildings, we've issued variances, we've issued floodplain things. Brownsville Fire Department is a good example. It went into an existing old building. They moved it from their old building into their new building. And there was some variances issued on that one because it was an existing structure. And then they added on that stall. So in order for it to be even all the way across, we had to do some stuff with that one. That's in a floodplain too. So fire departments are usually kind of a little bit different because it is a public entity.
For public service.
For public
health and-
service,
health and-
yeah.
They're asking for a fee waiver.
Center Street is the main drag that goes down to the sale barn, right?
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
so
it is.
I'm a block off here.
Yep,
Right.
so it's right, when you come out, it'll be
Yep.
right there.
Okay. No, it's
No.
a block the other direction.
Yeah,
Okay.
they had to get out of that one to get into the new one.
Yeah, is there even a road between there and the railroad? Other than just a little dirt track
this
there or
is-
something or
And
whatever?
it's not much of a dirt track.
Yeah, there's
This is
nothing.
what it looks like.
Yeah, there's nothing even there.
So this old, Second Street went through it, and that's what they had to go through with St. Ange to vacate that, or
okay.
to get rid of it. And they did. So that's why this took
So
so
you're
long.
possibly suggesting that we approve the variance due to the fact that it's for health and safety factor of it being a fire department, it would meet the necessary requirements to become a variance?
Yes, I think so. If you deem it to be
And
your
we
standards,
get to see it again at the county level?
it does go, yep,
So
normal
I'm
process.
not gonna make a motion like that. We could.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
Here's your, oops.
Amber, are they also asking for a fee waiver as well?
Yeah, they would also ask for a fee waiver, which normally public entities, we do that too.
So you're looking for a recommendation along that to pass along to the county commissioners as well?
Yep, and here's your
Should we
reasons.
address those as separate issues?
Yeah.
The
Please.
Fee waiver? I don't have any problem with the fee waiver.
Or do I?
I would move to waive the fee.
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Fees waived.
Move to approve their plan.
Here's your reasons
For what
for
reason?
that.
Yes. Those are good reasons.
All three of them?
Why not?
He thinks it meets all three. Is that okay to put in
Yeah.
his? Okay.
I like yours better.
Can I see your sheet,
Well,
please?
then,
Do we have a second?
Mr. Chairman?
Okay, go ahead.
I have a question. So you don't have other options. I mean, that's the property that you have to put a building on.
Yeah, Woody
Yeah.
Hoover, St. Ange Fire Deputy Chief / Secretary. Yeah, the property was generously donated to us by the Furloff family. And we outgrown the existing hall that was built in 1950, quite a while ago. This took, for us, our building committee has struggled with trying to design something that would fit that kind of odd shaped lot. And to get the best bang for our buck for the taxpayers' dollars, having a rectangular building is a lot easier to build than a strange shaped building to fit the setbacks and stuff. So that is pretty much, unless I win the lottery,
Yeah.
that's pretty much our option right there.
Mike, would you say as part of your motion that you find that the granting the variance is not injurious to the neighborhood or detrimental to the public interest or welfare, and that there are special conditions exist on the property because of what's been discussed here so far today, that a variance is necessary, and that denial of the variance would create peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or undue hardship?
Yes.
Thank you. We'll incorporate that in your.
Well, there's nothing that's ever gonna go in between there in the railroad anyway, because the railroad's not gonna give them an inch.
And that's really not a safety issue there either.
No.
75
Well, it's quite a ways.
Plenty of room.
and straight through there.
Second, Mike's motion.
Discussion? I want to stay consistent with my ideas of not allowing variances like this, but in this condition, or in this particular instance, I really don't have a problem with it.
Thank you.
So,
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Aye. Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
so it goes to the Board of Adjustment next, and it's scheduled for Tuesday, May 12th at 9 a.m. So it's
On my
just,
calendar, Amber, yes.
okay, perfect.
Mr. Chairman, a county commission, of course, it'll require a 2/3 majority by state law.
all right. Next item is recommendation meeting variance number 223 for DD storage units.
No, looks like Trent, are you online?
Hello, yes, I am.
Okay. All right, so this one is the storage unit buildings that you approved here not that long ago, out off of Rochford Road. Trent is the first to say that he messed up. I'll throw it out there, Trent. They did do a detailed site plan. They did have the engineer go out there and do it, and Trent was off by 4 feet. They poured the concrete is in. Then Trent rechecked things and determined that he was off by 4 feet. in a little bit, I guess we would say. So we met out there with Kim and John Bay and Bruce, and we looked at it and we stopped construction. So we said, you can't go any further until you guys either one of two things, get a variance if the board will allow it, and or take the concrete out and start over. That was kind of the two options. With that, I'm probably gonna let you talk, Trent, just to kind of, you can kind of go from there, because the last time we talked, you were still working with your company to decide kind of what the options were.
Yep. So Trent Walters, I work for A2S Project Manager, address 120 West Hudson, Spearfish, South Dakota. So this arose as a error in a CAD drawing through a setting, and we typically we would set those corners and check off of existing corners that had been set for the lot. Those corners had not yet been set by the other surveyor. So when those were set, the contractor did put the building right where I had staked it. Unfortunately, as Amber mentioned, when I went back to verify prior to the building going up, there is 4 feet into the 25-foot setback, 4.1 feet, I believe. And so we did some discussions with the owner. In order to make that change, the whole foundation will have to come out. So that's what we are attributing, I guess, for that hardship item. It's quite a substantial cost for that. And so that's one item. Another item I think is relevant is this wasn't, we weren't cutting corners. We weren't trying to get away with anything. We followed the process, and it was an honest mistake on my part through the drawing setting that shifted that property line. Another item, when we met out with the county members, that is a 66-foot right-of-way on Rochford Road. You don't always get that in the county, is what John had mentioned. So that in my mind does help the situation. So we're not right, next to, we don't have a smaller right of way than what's typical. 66 feet is pretty typical for a section line right of way. The other item is this is the back of the building. I know it is a front setback off of Rochford Road. The access does come off of Black Forest Road. So cars coming in and out don't use Rochford Road, and there won't be anything on the back side of the building as far as parking or any activity going on. That's the back side that you see there. So there's still a 20-foot area from the back of the building to the property line that gives a buffer in between. It's not that 25-foot as we had planned in the development plan. And then just one more, this would be just for this single foundation. The owner does plan to continue building south. Those buildings will be in the, the correct with the 25-foot setback if this is allowed. Well, regardless, those will be there. But if this is allowed, this would be the only building in that area that's that 4 feet into that setback.
So when John and I were out there with Bruce, John requested that before John made a, one way or another, before he looked at it, he wanted to see where the property line was. And so they requested that Trent had, I think it was Lauren, went back out and actually flagged, like, this is where it should have been, this is where it is. John wanted to look at that to make sure it wasn't going to cause any undue problems, or like if he has a plow, going down Rochford Road or anything, was it going to cause any issues with where that was? And John did say that overall, it's not going to cause a problem. But ultimately, it did not meet the 25-foot setback. It is not in the right of way though. And that was one thing that John was concerned about, just to make sure that there wasn't a weird, jog or anything. So he did have him mark the right of way and went back out, and he is in agreement that it does not affect the right of way area. It's just the setback.
Yep.
Well, the picture doesn't show it. One thing that I noted, just for your consideration, you can see there are trees in some spots that are between the roadway and the property line as well, not in that particular location. So I look at it in terms of clear zone issues as well. So in some circumstances, there are trees there too.
So this is where it still sits today. They didn't get any further than the foundation. All of your ports are in, there's, you know, drainage, the bathroom stuff. But this just kind of shows you, this is a preliminary drawing. So this is one of those situations as always, in this case, I did recommend denial. Trent knew that. That's pretty normal for a structure like this. I'm gonna recommend denial of it. I do understand the hardship for it, but it is your guys' call as to what your thoughts are.
Okay. My thoughts, I guess, just kind of bluntly, is that we're professional people dealing with professional things, and when you make a mistake, you should fix it.
I agree. I see it very different from the last issue.
I would make a motion to deny.
Okay.
I'll second.
Mr. Chair?
Yep.
TJ, as part of your motion, do you find that the variance would be injurious to the neighborhood, or maybe it's not necessarily injurious, but you don't find that there are special conditions that exist according to number 2, because it's sort of self-imposed, and it doesn't deny that the variance does not create a peculiar or exceptional difficulty?
Yeah, it was a surveying error.
Okay.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I mean, it's a beautiful pad, but it's a mistake that needs to be fixed.
Yep.
So.
We have setbacks for a reason. Okay, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, Trent, this is on the agenda in front of the Board of Adjustment on Tuesday at 9
Okay.
a.m. So just, it'll turn around and go to the Board of Adjustment, which is at the county commission level.
Okay.
Okay, all
All
right,
Thank
thank you.
All right, informational meeting for ordinance 2602.
I don't think there was any
It
names.
was
No.
unanimous.
Yep, I think it was unanimous. Yep. All right, you ready?
Yep.
The next one is an ordinance 2602. This was the 2 things that we had discussed last time that I said we would be having come up, but Bruce and I kind of worked on some wording. One of them being, we would like to propose to add under the general district provisions at the very beginning of the zoning ordinance, a general statement talking about classification of unlisted uses. This would help in those scenarios where we have something that's similar to what's on there. Let's say it talks about a, I knew I was gonna forget my
Coffee
example.
shop as opposed to a tea shop.
Yeah, coffee shop versus tea shop, or let's say you have somebody that wants to build a building that the parking is gonna be the same, whether it's this type of structure or this type of structure. It would give us the ability to say, well, it's a similar structure to what's already listed. As long as they meet the parking regulations, the sign regulations, the different things, we could allow it without having to go through that whole, like we just did where we added retail sales and trade to commercial. We have other things that are like uses that we could have made work, but it just didn't because that wasn't the process. So this would be a general classification of unlisted uses. In order to ensure that the zoning ordinance will permit all similar uses in each district, the Board of Adjustment, upon its own initiative or upon written application, shall determine whether a use not specifically listed as a permitted accessory or conditional use in ag, residential, park, forest, rural, residential, SRD, it's all the districts, shall be deemed a permitted accessory or conditional use in one or more districts on the basis of similarity to uses specifically listed. So it would still mean that the person would have to write, they would come to me and say, I have this idea, I want to do this. We would then have to do a written application that says, hey, I would like to see if this is a unlisted use. And then it would still go before the Board of Adjustment and they would make that determination. So it's not me making the determination, but it's an option for people. So this would be the wording to
It sure
allow
would
that.
help in a lot of situations, to streamline.
The deal today, it was more confusing than anything, you know, when it, that we had to add the ordinance in before we got to vote on it.
Is the wording that this is changing, the wording that's in this book? that
We
you-
have no wording in there currently, so we're
Well,
adding a separate
It
section.
says the listed conditional uses under each district are illustrative of those.
So what section?
Other
is-
uses may be allowed which are not listed, provided they are not contrary to the intent. I'm looking at 2503.
5.003, that
Yeah.
wording would stay in there. Now we're
Okay,
gonna
that
be
would stay
adding
in there.
5.006.
So you're adding- I guess I don't understand why you need it. You've already stated it.
I think makes it clearer. I wouldn't read what you're looking at to mean this. Because if you guys want to determine it that way, you can, but so I'll pull it up so you guys can see her wording.
Mr. Chairman? Yep. And so, the intent here is not to have some kind of strained reading to allow things, but it's, to give a reasonable reading to things, to give you some flexibility, again, reasonableness here. It's not an attempt to circumvent any decision making, and obviously it would always go back to the Board of Adjustment as well. And they could say no, and it would require somebody to come in and amend the ordinance accordingly.
So I,
Well, go ahead.
no.
We've just had so many things that are very similar to what we allow. And then we have to make them come through and change it, or non-conforming use or non-allowed use. We go through the process where we'd have a little flexibility to allow a coffee shop instead of a tea shop or vice versa. And it's just the coffee shop was labeled, but it didn't say it, didn't say tea, so we couldn't approve it.
But what we just approved was a retail sales and whatever. I mean, that seems like it's very generic. Why?
That's
You know,
only in that specific zoning. This opens it up.
No, I wouldn't say that. That's exactly why I don't want to continue having to do that. Because we already have things in there that I could have made that work, but I didn't have a way to do it. This allows them to make an application to the Board of Adjustment to ask for that. This wording that you have here, the 5.003, does not give them, it says it may be allowed. Well, how do you do that? 5.06 will say you can make a written application to the Board of Adjustment asking to do that. It's a process.
That kind of lays out the process for it. Yeah.
We don't have that process right now. So right now it would be, am I the one that is saying it may be allowed? Are you the one that says it may be allowed? Is the county commission the one that's maybe allowed?
Or it goes through the process.
Or you go through an ordinance change. Well, right now, we've always said, well, if you want to request the change, you can, but you have to go through the ordinance revision, which is what you saw earlier today. Now they wouldn't have to do that. They could do a written thing directly to the Board of Adjustment saying, can I do this? Does it look like this item on the list? They would ask the question. And right now, we just don't have a process for it. So I think that's really that's the way I see it, is it says it may be allowed. Well, how do I tell them it may be allowed? I don't want to make that call. I want the board to make that call.
Mr. Chairman, I think that allows for a more deliberate and transparent kind of decision-making process as well.
Mr. Chair, so I understand the need for flexibility in this, and I appreciate that fact, but I'm just concerned that when somebody from the public wants to go in and buy something next to that zoning district, they need to be able to look to see what those allowed uses are. And if we put that flexibility in there, they don't have that definitive what those uses are. And that's what bothers me about this.
We're using the example of coffee shop and a tea shop, but that's kind of a no-brainer. I think once you give the power to a group to decide what's similar, it might be a little too flexible.
Okay. Any other thoughts? Okay, on this one,
Well, it's
This is just an informational
Informational
meeting
meeting,
anyway,
yeah.
right? So we don't vote on it.
Well, and I just,
We can just mull it over.
you can mull it over, or I don't necessarily want, if this board doesn't like that, I don't really want to have it go through a full public hearing. You know, there's no point in, because I have to put it in the paper, I have to do all the stuff. No matter what, I think the sign regulations, I was told to do that one, so that's a little different. Keep in mind, I always look at cost. I don't want to pay for
Something.
little things, but if you don't want to do it, I'd rather just know that now, and I don't know.
Is there some wording changes that would make you comfortable with it, or just?
Well, I don't think
idea?
so. I'm not sure that I would want to go any farther than what we already have.
However, the thing we just approved today by changing the ordinance.
The highway service commercial
Highway
is the
service
example,
commercial,
the retail sales.
Strictly highway service commercial, and we've allowed retail sales in that spot. We go to the next level and we have a first reading, a second reading on the ordinance portion, right? So what do we do with the other part until those two are done? I mean, it just kind of drags it out and makes a little confusion towards the end, and a little flexibility. We gotta rely on our board. We do put it
But we don't want to be circumventing the public process either.
Sure. Well, it's still a
Well,
public hearing.
But I want to clarify, this doesn't mean it's an allowed use.
Mhm.
So they
Right.
still have to go through the CUP they still have to send public notice. They're not
Public hearing.
circumventing that.
Yeah, that's true.
It's just literally, can they apply for it without having to do an ordinance change? And that's the part that, we used to do it all the time, I'm sorry, but we didn't have a detailed list.
So I think it seems to me that we've kind of had this come up before, where I think Amber has allowed applications to go forward, sort of using the same principle, and you basically made the determination that I think it's close enough, and so they get to go forward. So I don't know that this is anything unusual from what you've done in the past, really, at certain points, but it does add a process to it. So if you don't pass it, that's all good. But again, at some point, someone's going to come up with a similar use, and it's going to be up to staff maybe to try to sort out whether it's close enough or not. So ultimately, what do? We're going to have to present it to you, I guess, for you to decide if it fits or not, or if they need to try to amend the ordinance, right? So I guess, do we end up in the same spot no matter what? I'm trying to think that through.
So does this actually make it more stringent than what we've been doing?
It adds a process to it.
That's all it does, is that, and my take, I do not make that judgment call anymore, because I've had commissioners in the past say that's not your call to make. So I stopped doing it. I haven't done it for probably 5 or 6 years now. So now every single application, if they want to do something that's similar, do you know how many times I get questioned by the commission? Well, why'd you make them come in and ask us that? Of course, it's right here. Well, because I don't really have a tool to tell them it's like this. So yes, you can apply for a CUP. So all it is process for you guys. I really don't care. It's just sometimes I hear, man, we have a lot of stuff on our agenda.
Don't we settle it by the informational anyway? I mean,
No, because they can't apply for a CUP if they're not on the list. So I tell them they have to go through the ordinance revision.
oh, sure. Or we could do it informational and they get a bad vibe, they can go through the ordinance part, but, or we
Correct.
just shut them down at the informational.
Well, it wouldn't even be an informational. It would just them coming to you to say, hey, I have an idea to do
Sure.
whatever it is. Do you think this is close enough to one of the things already listed in the CUP list? If you say yes, then they can apply for the CUP. If you say no, then they don't get to apply for a CUP, and they probably wouldn't go through the ordinance process at that point.
Well, they have to.
I mean, they could, but
Now, I'm not one to really want more bureaucracy. I mean, this thing is monstrous, but by the same token, I also believe we need to be as transparent and open and give the public as much opportunity as possible. And this seems like it shortens that. And so things might get through. I don't know. I've learned, as have lots of people recently, that the zoning in Lawrence County is very complicated compared to every other place I've ever lived. And that what you think it means by a particular zoning title is not what it really is, but people don't know to even look at that. So I just think to have it rush right to the Board of Adjustment and not go through a process is not as transparent or
It
in
goes
keeping.
through here first and then to the Board of
Yeah.
Adjustment.
And really,
so.
in a sense, that's this very similar people, so maybe it just drags out the process. Like I said, I don't like bureaucracy, but there's just something about this that doesn't feel comfortable with me.
Okay, so let's move on from that, because you get, I mean, it's an ordinance revision, so you guys can decide. The sign regulations were the campaign signs, and that was asked to clarify campaign signs, because it wasn't real clear in our, when we redid the zoning, or it was kind of a weird little bucket. And so what Bruce and I did is we went and found what current state law says. Keep in mind, in state law, it specifies municipality. Well, we're not a city, but in theory, we felt that it should be the same language, whether you're in a municipality or you're in the county. So we opted to just take the same language from the municipality ruling, but took out the word municipality, is really all we did. Other than that, it reads the exact same as the state law, and it does not have a size requirement. We did double check that. There is not. Some counties do. We used to have a 4x8 size requirement, but to be consistent, so you don't get in trouble with, and that's kind of what Brenda wanted, is to be consistent with what she has to say. Like if you're inside city limits, she would rather it just be across the board, the same wording, so that we don't have to remember, well, this is this and this is this. So there's no size restriction, but it would be that it cannot be up the property owner beginning no later than 10 days prior to absentee voting. So whenever absentee voting is supposed to start, they can have it up 10 days prior, or general election. You know, it kind of depends on what it is, but in we have absentee voting, so you can do that. And then it has to be down. It can be displayed through election day. And then the display has to be removed within 7 days of that election day being done. And then for the purposes of this section, the term campaign sign means a freestanding object identifying and urging a person to vote for or against a particular ballot question or candidate for public office. So what that means, it has to be a freestanding sign. You cannot put a trailer. So I'm just going to throw it out there. I've had a discussion with Mike Davies, so he knows that trailer would not be allowed under this because it's not a freestanding pole sign. And actually, then that would bring it into compliance, because we don't usually allow a trailer to be used anyways for a form of a sign. That's in another part of the ordinance. But because it was a campaign sign, I didn't have a ruling for anything. So if this goes into effect, that would not be allowed, let's say, next campaign sign. For now, it's fine. It's there because this ordinance is not in effect.
Could I ask about the signs that are on fences and people's property, not in the ground, because that would impact those too. And there are.
It could, except for there's some things like if it's the metal, I don't know, the little things that.
Little yard
poke in the
signs.
No,
ground.
I'm saying those would be acceptable, but people have them on signs.
It could
and
be a
on
freestanding,
buildings.
it could be a freestanding sign on some of those, because it's a post,
Yeah, but it's attached to an existing.
but that's still a post. I think it would be okay.
Well, I think you would need to clarify that, just because.
I think this is what the state law says.
I've
so.
actually gone around and kind of seen there are a number of candidates. I think you just need to be clear so it's fair for all the candidates in terms of what they can and can't do.
I don't think we've never said anything about campaign signs, except for it used to be a 4x8. That was what it was. And then meeting, we used to require it to be out by a certain time. So I think if you go with state law, they can have it up as long as you meet those dates. I don't think we're really going to get into it too much, because we haven't in the past.
Yep, go ahead.
My question is, or what? I mean,
Yeah, what's-
I can go
there's no
remove the
fine
sign.
here, there's no nothing. I mean,
I think there would be, as part of the overall ordinance itself, the penalty provision of a violation of it. May I, Mr. Chairman?
Mhm.
So yeah, this wasn't a reaction to any particular candidate.
No, not
That
at all.
highlighted the fact that inadvertently, I think that existing provision got taken out and we didn't really have much in terms of signs. And so again, we went with the
State law.
state law. I don't know that the county wants to get involved in policing political signs at all, quite honestly. We haven't really had a problem in the past. It's not what's going on here. I think it's a reasonable restriction. It should be just fine, I think. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yeah.
I went out to Grok and put in freestanding. What does that mean? And that truly means you take something and you stick it in the ground and it's free. So I just want you to be aware that freestanding, if that's what you're using, and there are candidates out there who are attaching their signs to other things that I would not call freestanding, and that might impact them too, and there might be confusion. So I just think you need to be aware of that.
If I were enforcing this, if it's attached to the building, it's not freestanding.
Yeah, that's, what about to a fence? Because there are a lot of them on fences around properties.
Do we need a definition up here of what freestanding is?
Yeah. I'm just saying, if you want to be really
I think we
clear
should.
going forward.
I understand the point of freestanding. I get it. I just don't know. We can make this really complicated really fast. And maybe we have to, I don't know. It's never really been a problem in the past, right? Again, I don't know. If it's on a fence, maybe it's not freestanding, but is anybody gonna complain about that? Maybe they will. I don't wanna set ourselves up for failure either, but I don't really wanna
It'll
overcomplicate
keep
things.
honest people honest is fine. Well, I mean, they can judge whether it's a, and it's better than nothing, and it's following state law, so I'm for just doing this. I'm worrying about it.
Can we just reference state law?
No, because the state law references municipalities. That's why we had to put it in there. Because it's municipality versus county, it muddles the waters.
Everybody's comments are well taken. I understand, right?
Mr. Chair, just
Here you
a
go.
question for Bruce. Does the state law
Your
define?
definition right there. I thought we had one.
I don't know that, I don't recall that it does, quite honestly, that state law does, so I don't know. What does it say?
A sign
And not
supported by
attached-
one or
not
more
attached to
uprights,
the building.
poles, or braces in or upon the ground and not attached to any building. I think a sign of
Clear as it.
a fence would be fine. I would consider that being in the ground. Anything on a building would not be, but keep in mind, that is only in the county, not inside city limits.
It probably wouldn't apply, well, it wouldn't allow for attached to, a trailer. I don't think that probably, it doesn't sound like it fits that definition.
Right.
So it would impact that.
Which it would anyways, like in Mr. Davies and I talked about that is we read the ordinance and he's like, well, okay, I kind of understand, but since we didn't have this wording. we
And
couldn't
I'm
do
actually
anything.
not referencing.
Yeah, that's the only
Davis.
one that I have.
I'm referencing two other candidates, one for a commissioner and one for another office that are on fences, so.
But the fences would,
Yeah.
that is an
Okay.
upright pole or brace in the ground,
Yeah.
Okay.
as long as it's not on a building, which honestly, in the county, I don't see a lot of them up on buildings, I guess. I don't know.
And again, trailers probably would not work. What's that?
So what do you need from us on this? Just move forward on that ordinance?
Well, one of two things. If you would go to a public hearing on the entire ordinance, it's going to include 5.006 and 8.004 changes. If you feel that I should remove the classification of unlisted uses and not have that go forward, I can do that as well. If you want it to go forward as is and then make a decision on it, we can do that as well.
Are these tied together?
If I do a public hearing, I can't separate them.
Mr. Chairman?
Does that make sense?
We could,
You can do one and then you'd have to do the other one later.
I have to do two different
I
ordinances,
got two that's all in the same.
because if not, I have to start all over with it. So if you really want me to, I would rather pull out chapter 5 classification of unlisted now before I schedule it for a public hearing. Because I think the campaign sign, that part, what I was already told to go forward with that, you know what I mean? So I don't
But
really
that
want
public hearing wouldn't be until after the primary, so.
it would, no, the public hearing would be next month.
Right, after.
This,
Friday.
this doesn't apply to anything
So it
going on
doesn't
right now.
impact anything going on.
No, anything right now is fair. This would be for next time. There would be any elections. Yep,
Potentially the general election.
right, potentially, yes.
It, does our current, does
No,
our
it's fine.
current, sign policies, it states that they've got to be removed within so many days after the
It has
election and
like-
everything already.
Well, right
doesn't it?
now, under off premise is the only place I could find it. It says political campaign signs, provided the signs are removed within 5 days after the election. That's all it says. And that's what was causing the problem. And because what was happening is people were calling Brenda saying, well, that guy already has a sign up or this or that. And yeah, they were going up early. Well, we don't have a provision one way or another. So then she would refer to the municipality state law. So the best thing to do is just match the law.
Mr. Chairman, my feelings on the classification of unlisted uses. We've all worked through the process as far as CUPs go. I think we've got pretty good definitions, and if it is something off, they need to come in and apply for it. So I guess I'm not for that at all. I would just soon throw that completely out. But I guess that's just my opinion. So
Can we do a non-formal vote?
I think I know enough that I'm just gonna change,
Throw 5 out.
2602 will just contain the chapter 8 sign regulations.
There,
That's fine.
I think I would like to address them as separate issues. I'm not gonna say I'm for or against the number 5 one. But they're far enough apart ideas, even though they're really close in the ordinance, that they're gonna muddy the waters for each other.
Good point.
Okay, enough on that. All right, preliminary plat for Joel and Rachel Graham. Oh, and the weed report.
Yeah, the weed report was listed. We usually try to bring that up, so.
So,
The,
is Scotch thistle, is that one of the bad ones?
It is.
That's why, okay.
Because I knew I kind of lump all the thistles together as being bad, so I just didn't know. So they now will have to come up with a plan.
There's no requirement. It's suggested.
Oh, okay,
okay,
thank you.
Reby Ranch Estates.
So this one, this is kind of funny actually. When this property was originally owned by the other owner, he subdivided this out into 3 parcels, and now this owner says, nope, we just want it as one. So now we're putting it back together.
Because it was all one.
It was 3 and then it was 1, then they divided it into 3 and now they're going back to 1.
I'll separate all of them out.
Good idea.
It works.
Move that as succinct.
Second.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. It is exempt.
Move to approve.
Okay.
Second.
Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Student like that.
Or are they too fast?
What are we, it said motion to just approve, is that
Yep,
preliminary?
there it is.
We had exempt first.
Yep.
And then preliminary. And then you did not do preliminary and final together, did you?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
It just said motion to approve, so I wasn't sure.
so motion to approve preliminary and final plat together.
All right, preliminary and final plat for Beck Construction and Israel Estate.
Okay, hold on a second. So I remember. All right, Beck Construction. This one is again, to do a lot line revision, taking 5 lots, revising them down into 3 lots. There currently is a townhome on lot 1B. There are no improvements on the other 4 lots. Subdivision is zoned suburban residential. Allows for the lot size. The infrastructure is in place. Water, roads, utilities are in place. They have an HOA, community water system, and wastewater treatment facility. Fire plan was built into the original development plan. Well, they're basically just making them a little bigger.
5 to 3, move the approve the preliminary.
I just have a question, has nothing to do with the vote. So do things like this have to go through the HOAs first, or the HOAs irrelevant?
HOA is irrelevant usually.
I'll second that.
Yep, they don't have any zoning
Yeah.
say.
Okay, any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So that was preliminary and final motion.
Yes, it was.
Okay, now we're
Get out of here.
preliminary plat for Jeff Miller.
Okay, so this one you guys have seen a few times. There was a layout plan. We did include the minutes to kind of refresh your memory from that. And if you remember at that time, there was some discussion on the, basically on the length of where the cul-de-sac would start and end is probably the best way to put that. The area is zone park forest, 10 acres required to subdivide, allowing density for the 4 new lots. The owner previously subdivided through the city of Spearfish 4 lots in the upper north corner when this was part of that joint powers area. There currently is no infrastructure or improvements on the area. The owner is wishing to subdivide now. Access to the lots would be from the previously platted Docks Place Road, which is a 66-foot public right-of-way. There is a gate into the subdivision, which will continue on to the new lots as a 66-foot private access and utility easement. So it'll go from public to private. You would then turn on to another 66-foot private access and utility easement leading to the cul-de-sac. Docks Place would continue south to the existing property. It acts as a 66-foot emergency egress easement to Green Mountain Court. There were prior concerns at the time of the layout plan if the road to the new lot should be private access and if the length of the cul-de-sac road would be too long. The as-bills have been sent to the county highway superintendent for his review and report for the board and commission request from the layout plan. It was requested that the length of the cul-de-sac be measured from the gate to the center of the cul-de-sac as well. And I'm talking when it went to county commission, they asked that question, which is over the allowable length. The owner is requesting an exception to the length of the cul-de-sac. Brad, you want to talk about your exception since you're sitting here? Or do you want me to read it?
It's fine. So basically, I guess Brad Limbo, all aspects of corporate land surveying. So the cul-de-sac, if you look at the definition of in the ordinance, if you look at the definition of a cul-de-sac, a local street with only one outlet and having an appropriate terminus for the safe and convenient reversal of traffic. So I guess if you look at that, there's more than one avenue out based on that definition. So if you were in the cul-de-sac and you turned around and then you came out to the entrance of the cul-de-sac, you could turn right or left, which in my opinion, that would mean it's not a cul-de-sac that starts at the gate. It's a cul-de-sac that starts at that decision point of whether you turn right or left, because you have 2 ways out by definition. So the measurement at that point would be from here, which it meets that ordinance. It's under that, so allowable is 500 feet based on lot size.
Yep, and this was just the question during the layout plan that had come up. So we asked him to put his explanation together as, you know, to what it was. Because the question was, is do you go from down here all the way in, or if you're here? Because if you're just here, he meets the distance requirements for a cul-de-sac based on the 4 lots. And you can go in or come out. And if you also remember, there was questions for this to be able, because it wasn't really in there before with an easement all the way out. And now it is, because this is the adjacent Centennial Vista subdivision over here. And there's that Green Mountain Court ended at the property line. And as part of that Centennial Vista, it was, at the time it said for future access. Well, what does that mean? You know, we don't know, but they didn't own the property.
Yeah, so now that's there.
So now, yeah, this was already in existence. Now you have a connection from here all the way up. And then this, before the plat, at the time that the final plat gets recorded, we would have that emergency egress easement and we would put an actual document number in there.
Yeah.
So it would show the easement had also been recorded. So that's a normal procedure. So I think in some sense, this actually fixes 2-part, because this subdivision over here does not have full emergency access out to other areas.
Mhm.
So now this subdivision can also both ways. It can come and
Is
come
there gonna
down
be a
here and go back.
Is there gonna be a gate up there?
They could do a gate, just like all of our other emergency accesses, the fire departments and
But as
things.
long as they have access.
And you're gonna go
Fire
through it.
department, okay.
Yeah. That's what we've done with other ones.
I have to agree on the cul-de-sac that starts at the main road.
Yep. I agree.
What do you mean? It starts where? It starts way up there?
There's a main road going all the way through
Yeah.
the property.
And it starts up
That's
there?
when,
No, it starts here.
Right.
Yeah,
right
okay,
there.
yeah, that's,
Okay.
Where'd you point? You
That's
pointed
where I
right there
see
where
it.
the
Right,
cursor
like where that big
That's
cursor
what-
is that what you're? Okay.
That's what I'm
So I
saying.
think that answers that question. So if you agree that it starts there, he does not need an exception to the length of the cul-de-sac because it meets the requirement. Would you agree with that, Brad?
Yeah.
Okay, so that answers that question. So you don't need the exception then, since you made that determination, then the next part would just be the plating. Now, I know we did get a couple of calls, on adjacent landowners being concerned about Doc's Place. Ultimately, what it comes down to, Doc's Place is a public right of way. It is designated as a public right of way up until that point. And then from here on out, he's extending it as a private. So it goes from public to private. There was some questions on, some of the neighbors wanted to know how that would affect if somebody was driving really fast and they went through the property. And is she gonna have any liability? Like if they hit a tree or the road isn't perfect, or I said, I don't answer liability questions.
Wow.
You might, because some of the easements go across private property or other people's property. But now that it's getting extended, there's gonna be more traffic going down that road and.
Well, they can go all the
those
way
things.
through, so there'll be.
There's gonna be more traffic. So their concern was, what is their liability on the portion of Doc's Place that crosses their property before it gets to this property? And as always with liability questions, we say that is not she needs to contact her own legal counsel if she thinks that she has some sort of liability.
On a publicly dedicated.
It's on a publicly dedicated right of way, yeah.
We'll have that.
Yep. So there you go. You are looking for approval on the preliminary plat of lots 5 through 8. We know that the exception is not needed, based on that. Other than that, density requirements, it meets, it meets our density requirements.
What about grades and stuff like that? Does that even pertain to it since it's
Private.
private road?
Right.
Okay. Public access doesn't play into that either then, does it?
Well, it's private, the public road's already there. Once
Okay.
he goes off the public road, he's designating it as a private access easement.
The other thing is the grades that are on that existing roadway coming in the cul-de-sac, they don't exceed over what's allowed. So there's
Yes,
a.
they meet the requirements.
They do.
There's no like short stretches or anything like that. Of like over 10%.
So it's over 10, up to 14, but it can't exceed 250 feet.
Yeah, because there's some
Like that.
13.
And it does go over 10% at one point, but it stays under the 14 and it's well under the 200.
It's not exceeding.
Okay.
And then if you look at this, you have the fire mitigation plan was already in here. That's right here. Come on, doesn't want to let it. And then here's your as-built road, which we do as a requirement, but the as-bills are in here, so those were already included.
Okay. All right, this one we just need to approve the preliminary plat.
Move to approve.
Okay. We have a second?
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
Okay.
All right, now we will move into Maitland Partners final plat.
Lot 114. This was a pretty basic one. Fire plan on the lot has been fully mitigated. We got the letter stating it was done. They're just doing a final plat. It matches the original preliminary plat that was set out. There's
Move
nothing
to
new
approve the
with it.
final plat.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries. And now we'll move into the Edmondson preliminary and final plat. And this one we'll need to take into consideration if it's exempt or not also.
Okay, so this one was kind of an interesting one. We don't usually have this, but it just so happened with this one. So you had the original tract 75, and then you had the original lot 13A. Tract 75 was not in Black Forest Ranchettes, but lot 13A was in Black Forest Ranchettes. Well, she owns both properties. So due to, taxes and everything else, and the way her house actually is on 75A, and the driveway comes across 13A, she thought it would just be better to go ahead and combine both parcels so that there's no confusion with like having to have a driveway easement across an adjacent property. So it just kind of cleans it up. The driveway comes in off of here. It comes in off of Inglewood Road. So it's actually on the bottom side of Black Forest Ranchettes, not up on the Powderhouse Pass side. Driveway comes in, garage and house sits over here. So it just kind of cleans it up all the way around, and she doesn't get two tax parcels anymore.
Then it's exempt.
None of it would be in the Black Forest.
It will not be in Black Forest Ranchettes. No, it'll get removed. Well, kind of. I mean, the legal description still says formally lot 13A of Black Forest Ranchettes, but
They're
so
not
it's-
active anyway. So.
Black Forest Ranchettes does not have an HOA or a road district, or they don't have.
Thank you. That's gonna be my question.
They don't
Since
have-
I'm in an HOA, I'm trying to learn what that really means.
Yeah, they don't
Dakota,
have-
since it's not what it means.
You
everywhere
guys
else.
just
Yeah.
cause hate and discontent amongst yourselves.
Yeah.
Move that
We're
it's
doing a
exempt.
good job of that.
Okay, second for the exemption.
Not a problem.
I'll second the exemption.
Okay,
And just real quick, so you know, we did also, you can see on here, John has been trying to catch these. So they're actually dedicating the Inglewood Road dedicated public access, because, it's one of those, we have these little parcels that the actual road never got dedicated. So now there'll be a dedication for that portion that goes across this.
perfect. Okay, on the exemption, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Okay, and now we will take into consideration the preliminary and final plats.
Move to approve.
Together,
Yes.
Second.
discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Good to go. Okay, now preliminary and final plat for Nemo Mountain Cottages. This one will also need to consider an exemption.
Okay, I gotta think here. Nemo Mountain Cottages. Oh, that's Bruce. Bruce is here. I see him back there. This is Bruce Keller and Tracy Rambo. And if you remember, this is another one. We like to move lots around. So over the years, these lots have all kind of been reconfigured out in that Nemo area. So this one is, blow it up so you can see it a little better. So if you remember, you have an existing house that sits out front. You have like a storage building kind of over here. This lot here is the Nemo Mercantile Building. They have the house that sits here. These two lots back here have been sold. And then back in here, this is that, we always had that weird area that it's a portion of suburban residential, and then the zoning kind of got in the middle, and then it's a portion is park forest. And then all of this back part here is Box Elder Creek. So you have floodplain and stuff on this back side, if that kind of gives you a general idea. Margie Ford is on the top side. These used to be owned by Rambo's or by Bruce and Tracy. They've been sold since then. So ultimately they're moving lot lines around. It's kind of hard to see it in here, but you can. So let's see if I can zoom in on this. So you have the well down in this corner here that'll stay with, the house. You have the old property line. You can kind of see it's this black dotted line kind of in here, and then this little sliver here. So this portion will now be with the bigger lot, N1R. So this little part here will be with this. This property line moves from this little corner this way just a tad. If that kind of, it's kind of hard to see in there, but that's really, it's just kind of moving, tweaking those lot lines right in here. And then with that, there's no additional lots being created ultimately. That's really what we're looking at, is they're not asking for any more density that was already out there. It's just moving all those lot lines around. It does have areas of floodplain in there. Those still show on here. And you can see that with the zone X and the zone A down here. 2 existing structures. They show those on the preliminary plat. They show the septic system and the wells like they're supposed to. I don't know. Is there anything else, Bruce, that you want to add to it? Is there?
Not really, it's pretty simple, just making the lots better shape.
Yep.
There's no setback for a well, is there?
We don't have a setback for a well. If the state wanted to, they could probably say something, but normally they don't, because those wells out there are all pre-existing. I mean, they've been there now.
Yeah. And that line's not moving anyway with this. So. Okay, let's deal with the exemption.
I have a question, just again, trying to understand. So I'm looking at this picture and it looks like the house or whatever that structure is has the lot line going like right across the tip of it.
They could, but we don't ever use those images. That's why they have to require a plat.
Okay.
Because the images could be skewed. So
Right.
that's why we make them show, like, this is a preliminary.
Yeah, because
plat.
on this one, it's clear.
Yep, on the
Got it.
preliminary plat, they have to show that it actually is where,
They-
like, on the lot.
They could be, they always are. skewed.
Yeah, they are.
Okay.
Just
Yeah,
consider it.
The images are.
All right.
Okay, let's deal with the exemption.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign, motion carries for exemption. Okay, preliminary and final plat.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Okay, motion carries.
Bruce, this does go to county commission on the 12th, if you want to be here. Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
All right, the final plat for 2-Bit LLC.
2005 subdivision. It has an HOA, community water system, and a septic system. The owner is wishing to just final plat those lots. The fire plan, it was in place with the covenant, so it was kind of a little bit older process where we had it just in the covenants. It states that the developer of the lot must complete the fire mitigation. Per the fire specialist, the lot will basically have mitigation done during the building process, but states the occupancy certificate should not be issued until the fire specialist has re-reviewed and a mitigation letter received in the planning and zoning office. So that was specific to this one. So we just wanted to make sure that that gets carried over. So if you approve it, I think we just want to make sure related to that occupancy permit, you know, if and when somebody builds on it, if and when they want their occupancy certificate, I'm going to make sure that they have someone come and say, yep, it's okay. That's really what that's saying.
Okay.
Approved final plat for and the staff recommendation.
Thank you. Discussion. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Okay, Mr. Tisdale needs to get going. There was no
Nope.
meeting.
Nope, we had the item added at the bottom of the agenda for Bradley.
Well, we're gonna take a break. and-
Okay, you can take a break and then you can.
Oh,
come back
actually,
to
you,
this.
you don't need to if it's for me. I'm
Oh, it's
doing okay.
for everybody.
All right, well, I was thinking if he's got to get out.
Yeah, do you want to stay for this? Do you want to do this quick?
I have 10 minutes.
I think you want
All right,
to.
let's do this.
We can stay.
Okay.
Thank you, though.
Brad, you're up.
All right, so thank you. I know it's been a long day, so.
Brad, they do have this. I
Okay.
did print just so if you want to reference it, and then they have the map, but it's smaller.
Okay, so Dave Winters is here. So what we want to talk to you a little bit about today is the Dave Winter property up there. You guys all know him, and he's been developing that piece out. The bigger vision for Dave is he's always been working kind of in the ministry fields. He's had successful ministry operations in Lawrence County. And so what we're kind of presenting here today as a discussion item is his vision for a master plan moving forward and what are the next steps that we need to identify to kind of move forward, and are these concept and ideas workable with the current zoning, or does there need to be a change of zoning? Those kind of ideas. Do you have this available on Digit?
I couldn't find it.
Okay, so
I might be able to, but.
okay, so essentially, this is kind of the
They
left.
have it in their packet.
The leftover and the remaining portion.
have it, so-
Okay, the remaining portion of what Dave has up there. And it's kind of broken out into a few areas. So the blue area on the kind of the southern end of it, that blue area is proposed as single family residential. It's currently single family residential, I believe. So that's really no change, but it's a definition of what's there. Then we move over to the right side of it. There's a larger yellow portion, and that kind of goes all the way up to the northern edge of the roadway. That area would be defined as like ministry area. And there's some multi-use pieces to that. So there's a piece of discussion on that. And then across the road, there's an orange colored area. That orange colored area, the proposed is tiny homes in that area. And the tiny homes would be used for a few different reasons. One, it could be ministry housing for people working in the ministry. And the second use would be generating income through short-term rental potentially, or things of that source to support the ministry operation. And then there's a purple area kind of to the west of that, and that area is a common space, and that common space would be used for combined septic systems for those tiny home locations. So it would be, the idea concept wise would be 4 tiny homes per septic system, combined drain field in that area. So that's kind of the overall. So we'll go back to, so the blue is fairly simple, it's housing. The yellow area, the ministry area, would be kind of a dual purpose area. There would be some commercial and there'd be some ministry stuff going on there. And I'll kind of let Dave talk about that more. And then the tiny homes, I guess it's all laid out there. So there's kind of multi-use going on in here is what the proposal would be. And so I guess what we want to try to figure out is what is it that we need to do to move forward with this concept and this idea.
So I'm gonna, before you start, Dave, I'm gonna go back a little bit just so everybody understands. Dave had come to us 2000, what, 8, 9? I don't know. It's been a long time. We've been working on. So all of this property has been platted into tracts already. It's all broken out into tracts. And it was overall looked at for development based on park forest zoning. That's what it was based off of. So these are all lots in here. There's some subdivision that has already occurred. You can see it right back in here. These are individual lots that have already been approved and they've been sold, and you know, there's houses going up out there and whatever. This is also Matson Lane is how you get to this property. If you come down Matson Lane, this is where we have Troy Schulte's, who has his little fishing campground area. You had Newbaum is the big building that just went up for sale for $4 million. That has the big shop building with the campers that go around it. We approved a CUP for that. So you pass that building when you get, before you get to this, you pass Troy Schulte's, and then you also have Muley Hill Lodge, which is the wedding venue / whatever. So keep in mind, we have a lot of commercial stuff. And then you go around the bend, the road right here comes off of Matson Lane. All of that stuff is back here. You come up this way. This front piece is already zoned highway service commercial. It has been for years. And then you come back around, basically right where, if you follow my cursor, this right along here is where they're proposing to put some tiny house lots right in here. And then on the other side, so this kind of right here would be the lot that your kind of infrastructure would go, I would say,
Yeah,
like
there's
your main building.
Yeah, so there's a larger ministry building in there that would support a lot of different things, potentially an auditorium. And this is all long-term, not gonna happen this year, next year. But it's, the idea, the concept is a large auditorium space, spaces to assist in adoption of of children and some girls' home stuff, some opportunity to support other ministries and other areas that are kind of helping connect some of those dots with children
Yep.
in need.
So that's this area here, and then if you keep going down the road, so this is all gonna be higher density residential is what I would call it, with tiny homes. And then when you get back in here, this is all still the original lots that have already been approved. I mean, those are already there.
Where is this?
Boulder Canyon, right outside of city. So this right here is city limits in Deadwood.
Okay.
So if that,
Yeah.
you're just come
Yeah,
out
yeah.
and there's Deadwood right there. So this is just on the other side. So that kind of gives you a general idea. And then what has transpired now, we've had lots of discussion about existing zoning is highway service and park forest. I don't feel that either one of those districts would really work with kind of this overall master plan, because that's what he's trying to do, is more of a master plan. So my suggestion is he figures out his boundary and does a change of zoning to a planned unit development. And then within that PUD, he could have phases of like phase 1 is this part, phase 2 is this part, and kind of break it down into phases. I think that's kind of what we were leaning towards. But before he went through the process of having Brad go out there and create that boundary and do all of the stuff, he kind of wanted to just talk with you first to see if you were comfortable. It's right along the city limits of Deadwood. So it's right there. Ideally, he had been talking for years at trying to get Deadwood to do water and sewer out there. It's not working
There was some
very
work,
well.
there was some working going through until it fell through, so.
Yeah.
I think, PUD is the only way.
I think the PUD is the only tool that we have to allow these like multiple uses, I guess.
Yeah.
Does that help a little bit, Dave, to kind of give some background to it?
Yeah.
Okay. Is there anything else that you want to add?
I mean, I was
to
just
it?
gonna share a little bit of the why, but I don't have to do that now. I know time's an issue.
Yep.
I guess just trying to understand if there's any major red flags of trying to go forward, or does this look like something that's
You talked tiny homes a long time ago.
I have for a long time, yeah.
And for those, I know it's hard because we have newer board members, so this is not a new concept per se. It's just he's finally getting to the point of, okay, now I'm ready to go forward. So we've been talking for 10
I
years.
guess one of the major points is we're not just doing this now to sell off property. Some of the stuff we did before is to help pay for all this.
Yeah.
But now we're looking to retain most of this. We might sell off maybe 8 more lots to help give us some seed money to get some of the things going. But the ministry plans to retain most of these locations to use for fundraising as well as for staff, like you said, to have adoptive parents come in and be able to stay there while they meet with kids. And so again, the goal is to try to kind of keep that within ourselves.
And the other thing, I guess, just for, again, newness of some of the board members, Kinship Mountain Ministries was done in 2002, 3, okay. 2003, that was the old Girl Scout camp out at Pahasapa Road, which is out Highway 385. It was an old Girl Scout camp. It was out there for years and years. Dave was the person that had that, bought it, brought it back to life. It is now Black Hills Retreat Center. They offer it to churches, can come in and do church camps and things like that. So I do think that, I mean, that took 18 years to probably get active.
We were in charge of it for 17 years and then sold it to the South Dakota district and said it's gone.
Yep, the Assembly
We're
of
doing
God owns
the
it
same
now.
thing we did with it. So.
Yeah, kind of a similar, just to give you an idea of, this is not the first time we've had Dave go through a conditional use permit process. And I mean, he did do it. It just took a lot of years, but we got it. It is now sold. Yeah. So I think ultimately their question is, before they go forward, I think we answered the question, but a change of zoning to a PUD would probably be conducive to do all the different things.
Yeah, I think the big question was, we just want to make sure that the multi-use with the idea of ministry space with some commercial entities to that to generate income for that, plus the tiny homes, like as a concept in general, is not like, oh, we're opposed entirely. So.
I think some of Bruce and I did just a quick cursory of it, and I know this is going to come up, so it's just something to talk about, is, we will require a full commercial review when it comes down to the buildings. So
Life safety.
life safety code, like it'll be a full commercial review through an engineering company, a third party. We would hire that person. We have a contract with them, and that cost of that review gets put back to you, the developer. Now that's a long ways out because that's for building wise, but just so you kind of know some of that.
That obviously wouldn't be the housing side of it.
It would be the,
commercial
yeah, the, like the
buildings.
auditorium space and the retail space and the kitchen space and all of that stuff. The other thing that I saw, just a quick precursory, is gonna be parking. I think you're gonna need more parking than what you showed on your map. But I think you've got space for it. But those were just some quick things that we noticed. So you might wanna look at that a little bit more, like, because of the size of the structures, you need more of that. And then the tiny houses, I do think because of it, it's not gonna be a regular residential build. So we would ask you to have your plans approved by the state for septic. It's not gonna be like a individual septic tank, like if you were just building one house, because they're gonna be pod systems. It'll have to we would require it to go to the state for more of a commercial review. That would be normal. We've done that. That's what we did out at Gilded Mountain is a good example. They had, I think, 3 or 4 houses on one shared system that had to go through a commercial review with the state. So those are a couple of things that I noticed when I looked at it. Okay. Do you guys have anything else for them to think about before they kind of start working on, I mean, they gotta still go through all the procedure stuff, but.
Yeah, PUD should work.
Nothing here, yep.
Food vendors, your hot
Thank you.
dog stand.
One thing I'm
There
gonna
you
talk
go.
to them,
There you go.
we can hire some of the kids to sell hot dogs.
You know, you got it.
Yeah. Your revenue source.
Yeah.
You can't leave yet,
Franchise.
Brad.
You know?
I wanna follow you, you get the cops.
That is all.
Does anybody need a break or?
So that was just informational and
It just.
when you add something on like that, he just
I
wants to
just-
get a general direction.
Yeah, so normally, like you
Trying
can,
to
as the general public, you can come in during the opportunity for public comment section. And he just felt like before he started doing too much, that he wanted to
Sure.
just see what your thoughts were. And then now he'll start with like a regular layout plan.
I
And he's
apologize.
gotta go through, change his zoning request, all of that stuff. Thanks, Rick.
Drive safe.
So then you're to
Okay.
Kinsey. We kind of bumped ahead
Is
with that,
there-
right?
Anybody else that has any public comments while we're doing that?
No? Okay.
Okay.
So then just.
Items from planning and zoning board members.
I'm not a member of that. Thank you, comment. So, just to report today, we did get the Supreme Court issued its opinion on the ordinance 2405. Remember that? That's regarding the Board of Adjustment, right? And so just a quick comment, if I may, this is from the Supreme Court opinion. The commission, acting on advice of counsel, determined that 2405 was initiated to bring existing ordinance into compliance with state law, thereby implementing a plan already put in place by the state legislature. In the commission's review, ordinance 2405 was not a legislative decision, but an administrative decision and thus not referable. Therefore, the auditor informed the petitioners in writing that 2405 was an administrative decision and not subject to referendum. So that's a reminder of kind of what that was. Makes sense, everybody? So the Supreme Court agreed in whole with us. As the Supreme Court recognized, it started with the advice of counsel, and I appreciate the county commissioners sort of taking a leap of faith with staff, giving that advice and kind of bearing the scrutiny and perhaps the vitriol. I saw at some point about that, but we were always trying to do the right thing. The Supreme Court recognized that. Does that make sense? I have copies of the decision if anybody wants it. I can also email it to you as well.
Good.
That just came up today.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you, guys.
I have one thing that's kind of interesting. There's a lot out by McNinney Fish Hatchery, which is close to, it's right across the road from some of my land. And the history of it is that house was built there in I don't remember what year, when I was fairly young.
36.
36.
1936.
Yeah. No, it was in the 1900s though. So, yeah, that corner lot right there.
It's that's right one, right?
Yep. So a house was built there, pretty nice, pretty good sized house. And then they drilled a well and the house started to settle because like in that part of my ground that's to the south and east of that, there's sinkholes all over out there that, I mean, they just show up the size of a pickup.
Really?
And there's like that whole entire field, the south 2/3 of that field that you see there, all drains to a sinkhole in the corner. And it doesn't matter how much rain or snow you get, that water just all disappears down that hole. It never backs up, it never fills up. There's a deep, big hole down there.
Sucks it up.
Yeah. And then Cox's Lake, just across over there, not that one, but the next one over, is all but bottomless. Yeah, you can see that hole right there. That goes to who knows where. So the whole area is very unstable for ground wise. Anyway, they built that house and they drilled the well. The well started to leak. The house started to sink. They tried mud jacking it. They did all kinds of different things. Finally, they moved the house out of there. And then one day, the whole entire well casing disappeared down the hole. Gone.
Really?
Yeah. So there used to be a well casing with steel pipe that went down, was cemented into the rock. That is gone. Just disappeared down the hole.
Oh.
And at that time, the hole was probably 60 feet across, and I could throw a rock and not hear it hit the bottom. It was a very, very deep hole. That stayed like that for quite a while. The foundation of the house sank approximately 10 feet. And then somebody, and I don't know who for sure, but hired a dozer to come in and kind of flatten it off. And so dirt just got pushed in until it bridged up and filled it in. And then another guy from North Dakota bought it and he put a trailer house in there. And then the top of the trailer house started to bow. And then he'd jack it up and put more blocks under it. And then he'd put more steps and then he'd jack it up. And by the time he took it out of there, there was about a good solid 8 feet under the middle of the trailer house where it went down. And then now it just recently got sold and I noticed some dirt work going there. So I talked to the guy that was doing the dirt work and he plans to build a $650,000 house there. Ooh. And I said, have you heard the history of this lot? And he said, well, a little bit. And I found this concrete down here when he was digging. So I went down there with him and looked, and it's the foundation of the house that's all cockeyed in the hole. And he's planning to build a $650,000 house there. And from planning and zoning perspective, I agree that we shouldn't tell him that you can't build a house there. But at the same time, we're gonna go make sure that the railing on his deck is good. Mm-hmm. So it's like, should we not worry about the railing or should we worry about the house that's gonna fall in the hole? Because there's still, the water from that well still runs out the side of that hill. And there's a big delta of dirt forming there that's washing out from underneath there. And I mean, that well casing, the whole thing, hundreds of feet, disappeared down that hole. So it's really ugly down there. And I don't know if we have any liability or if we should worry about it or not worry about it. It's just something I've been thinking about a lot as we drive by there because it's a bad situation.
I would think.
It's fine. I mean, we have no rules against building a house there.
You'd hate to see somebody have a disaster like that. I mean, it's no different than down towards Rapid.
Yeah.
It's the Hideaway Hills.
Yeah.
It's the same problem.
Well, it's actually worse because like this one, the front yard didn't get a hole in it. I mean, that foundation is 10 to 12 feet below where it used to be.
And it's just a gypsum issue.
Yeah, it's all over that whole area. It's just all sinkhole.
Yeah, so right now, we do not have a building permit, correct?
I don't think
See,
so.
it's that German, yeah. But I don't think we did anything with it. Yeah.
I don't remember
Yeah.
finding anything on it.
So, well, no, they haven't issued a building permit, right?
I can't say yes or no. I don't think so.
I don't think we've done anything. It came about because, Travis had called us and said, hey, what's going on out there? They haven't come in. They haven't gotten a building permit. When it comes down to it, the first thing, I mean, we've had situations where we look at wetlands and, making sure, because like, let's say this guy over here came in and wanted to do something here, I would require additional stuff because that's a wetland area. Like it's designated as a wetland area. So that's different. If it's in the floodplain, I have additional requirements. Well, this lot doesn't have either on it.
Nope.
It's an old lot. Yes, we know. I do think that, you know, you've already talked to the builder.
Mhm.
The landowner's very well aware of what he purchased. Now, what he chooses to do with that is
Yeah.
kind of his own accord.
Mhm.
I don't really have anything besides, I mean, obviously we would let him know, like when he actually comes in and asks for a building permit. From the sounds of it, he's gonna do what he wants to do. Is
Yeah, that's what it
maybe
sounded to
the
me.
best way to put it.
And it sounded to me when I visited with him, he's gonna
Didn't
do it
seem
to-
concerned
to
and-
spite everybody now.
Yeah.
Just to prove he can.
But what I'm worried about is that there's gonna be a bank that gives a mortgage on that possibly, or somebody's money's gonna be in it.
Yep.
And then there's gonna be an insurance company that insures it.
Yep.
And then there's gonna be a lot of people that get involved that don't maybe know about it.
Mhm.
So it's, I just wanna make sure we don't have any liability.
Yeah, so,
Yeah.
and so, yeah, I understand your point is well taken. It seems like it's an inevitable disaster waiting to happen, right?
Yeah.
And I know you've communicated with them. So from our perspective, the county doesn't have any sort of records of that we could share or reference when he comes in to get his building permit.
Yep.
It would be difficult for us to note that on the building permit. We don't really have that history,
Right.
although we know that you talked to him, although probably not in capacity as a county official, right?
No, I didn't mention anything about that.
So I'm just kind of like putting all that out there. So my thought is, and again, I have not put zero other thought into it, is perhaps the idea would be as part of issuing the building permit that we schedule it before planning and zoning or county commission and have you there whenever that would be and have a rendition of your history of it, have a recording of him hearing exactly what your experience with it is,
Yeah.
right? So that we have a record of that. And so if he would ever come back later on and say, county, it's your fault for issuing me a building permit, we would have just a dynamite sort of deposition of basically why you shouldn't. Does that make sense?
Maybe even a release of liability for the county as well.
Could be. I would be really comfortable if we made a really good record.
Yeah, no, I
of-
agree.
Of all of that, because that just sounds terrible.
Yeah, so, Jesse obviously works on most of our building permit applications. And so one of the things, because we've been kind of thinking about this and well, you know, we don't know what to do with it. But under our application submittal process, it talks about what they have to submit, that's, you know, the normal building plans, all of that stuff. But we do have a caveat in here that we use quite often when it comes to like, you have to provide a site plan that has more detail and whatever. It does say in here that other pertinent information as required to include but not be limited to the wetland, which is normally we can pull that up,
Yeah.
streams, geotechnical.
Information.
So we could say before we issue a building permit, you have to prove that whatever you're doing with it, you know, like you can provide some geotech information. That's about the only, and then we talk about perk test soil profiles, you know, I mean,
that
we
could happen.
could do that. I don't know. We've never gone that route, but I think we do have and it says that we could require it and it would be at the owner's expense.
Mr. Chair.
But I don't know what you get out of
Give us
it.
a lot of tools, the soil profiles and the geotech. I think maybe we should require that in this case. And if the gentleman said, have you ever required that before? Well, no, not really. Or if he disagreed, then he could,
He could appeal my decision basically to
the board adjustment.
is what he could do.
Yeah.
And then it would all come out.
Then it would all be on record and we
Yeah.
can say, well, we're not gonna be liable for whatever would happen.
There's been,
Would that be an avenue there?
I mean, based on what Travis said in his experience out there, and I've heard about the bottomlessness of, was it Cox Lake or whatever? This is not make believe, this is not hyperbole, this is real stuff,
Yeah.
right? And you've seen the structures that are there. This is very reasonable to me,
Yeah.
and I think we can reasonably require that, right? You know, if he wants to do something stupid, he can't fix stupid.
Right.
But I can see someone turning around and trying to blame us later on, and that's what our concern.
well, what I worry about is that they get it built up and it's gonna look, I mean, it's gonna be an amazing looking spot.
Yep.
And then they're gonna sell it to somebody that doesn't know the history and then their house is gonna sink and then,
In the middle of the night with lose 5 kids.
yeah.
What a disaster.
So I think,
So-
you know, Travis kind of wanted to bring it,
Mhm.
we've been talking about it and I just was struggling with, I don't know, but then you know, this
Sounds
would
to me
be
like some
an
of that
option.
needs to be declared a disaster.
Yeah.
So I think the thought process would be, Jesse would know that if this gentleman comes in for a building permit, we would, I think to do the proper procedure, we would have to take all of his information for the building permit. I would have to do a written letter of denial and give the reasons, and we could use this as a reason, or he could go and pay for a geotechnical or, you know, whatever, do some additional stuff. We would give him that option. If he says, no, I'm gonna deny it, okay, fine, you're gonna deny it, why? And I give him the reasons, and he says, no, I wanna appeal that decision. He would go through the regular appeal procedure. There's a fee to it. It gets appealed to the Board of Adjustment. Yes, I always have to think, so we don't do that many. It gets appealed to the Board of Adjustment, and then they would make a determination, you know, same thing. Why did it get denied? What's the reasoning? He would then have the option to basically, you know, tell him your reasons, or he'd be able to tell you your reasons. But I don't want to put Jesse in the predicament, or myself, or any of my staff saying, yeah, this is okay. In this scenario, based on what we know, I don't think we can.
Sometimes we have to
So,
help.
Well, public safety and stuff as well.
Yeah, exactly.
You hate to have a blanket deal, you know, but I mean, people that don't know the area have no idea. You know, everything, every big commercial, anything, they go in and do a bunch of core drills and they know what's down there, and you'd hate to force that expense on somebody that is building in a good spot, you know, just to make it up.
So I just learned today from this that that guy that I talked to that represented himself as the owner actually must not be.
the owner on this is Scott German, so I don't know.
Sean Warwick is the guy that I talked to.
Unless there's been a sale recently.
Unless there's been a sale,
just
which
sold.
it could have, because our sales
Pretty
won't show
recently.
until June. It's
Okay.
on lockdown right now, so
Yeah.
no sales will show till that gets, so it could have sold.
Yeah, it was just a few weeks ago that it sold.
When it's sold, don't those things have to be declared?
Well, there's nothing
Yeah,
on
it
there.
just isn't.
So you're saying it's just not ever, it's been sold so much or so rapidly that people.
Well, there's
haven't had-
nothing,
There's nothing on there.
but there's nothing to declare, there's
Yeah.
nothing on there.
It's weird.
Right, so it's
Yeah.
just the fact that you know the history because you've been out.
The interesting thing is that I've had a whole bunch of other people that live out there that have said that they saw him doing something and stopped and told him that he better not build a house there because there's already been 2 sink. And so there's been a lot of people telling him that this isn't a good idea. And it almost feels like that's making him want to do it more. And people that have lived there for a long time and saw the first house falling in the hole and the second house.
Do you know? Does anybody have any photos by chance of a house
I
sitting
can
there?
ask my grandma, she might have some.
I mean, cause this lot was platted in 1979, you know, I mean, that's when the first
Yep.
tract was platted, that's why it's because this day and age, that lot wouldn't exist, it's it's a 2-acre lot in ag. But it was it was in 1970, so
It's
we have,
grandfathered in.
we have to allow it because of that. But we might wanna see if anybody by chance has any photo evidence, I don't have any, I looked to see if there was anything.
What was the new owner's name? Warwick? It's
I
not.
was just wondering if there was any
Yeah,
language.
Sean-
that
well,
would
Sean-
put
Sean
at
is
the
what
beginning
they
of
wrote
the
it.
ordinance. Ordinances maybe that
I'm gonna look, whatever.
we're not liable or, you know, I guess.
Something about this area is known for gypsum content that is unsuitable to build on, or?
I told him the one day when I was there, I said, I don't feel comfortable standing right here.
Yeah, well, just
what
some
I'm
statement
thinking.
on there to bring the awareness up and resolve the county from liability.
Yeah, well, so I think the process that Amber outlined is very deliberate. We would require the geotech and those kinds of things, get that, and then see what that means. That doesn't mean that's the end of it at that point, right?
Yeah.
I mean, my inclination would be that we would be in contact with whoever they are and like, are you sure you know what this is? Does that make sense? This isn't some kind of cursory kind of thing to make a client happy. And then even with that information, we still might try to bring that to you as a county commissioner of planning and zoning to really make a record of this thing, right? And that way, I think we
Well, I
would be
mean,
covered.
they need somebody to take the core samples and see what's down there. And
Eric, do you know what any of those,
An
so that's
engineer
the
to make a
NRCS
determination
layer
for
that they
that.
shared
And I
with
would
me,
hopefully
but
trust
I don't
them,
know what any of those,
but if they came back and said there's no
like it
problem, I'd be
says
like, I don't know
NAC,
that I-
which is right below this, that
well, it
could
would
be
shift a
a.
lot. I mean, that's
like
Yeah.
layering issue, you know, like maybe it
Crazy
is.
deal,
supposed
because
to be
there's areas
evergreen,
that nobody
but-
knows if that's good, bad, or otherwise.
That should shift the burden on us, but we may
I don't-
want
but
to
I
go
don't know
forward
if that, like, would
possibly and have it
help.
presented.
I don't think it says
right?
anything about the
I mean,
parent material.
Okay.
I would hate,
Cause
you
this
should
is,
just
you know,
require
they
a
provided this
geotech
layer
report
to us,
and an engineer
but the
stamp on
bad thing
everything,
is,
if that's what we're gonna do, and that
Well,
would take
does
all
it
the
show-
liability from
He
us,
might
but I
have
hate to put
identified
that
as
extra
gonna
$5,000 or whatever it might
see, it
be
shows all these
on
things.
top of the, I mean,
I
it's,
don't know what they mean.
Yeah, we have that flexibility when we need it.
We
And
can
I
look at the
generally don't
soils
think
book
it is. This is
maybe
probably like
and
that
see what it
1%
says for
that
the
I've ever heard of.
description
I've never known of anything quite like
Yeah,
this.
there's nothing.
Yep.
I mean, that's the bad part, you hate to punish
So that's-
everybody.
No. Yeah.
That's not NAC.
So I think we've got a path forward, and he might not like it, but, you know, he can appeal it to the Board of Adjustment.
But yeah, it
right?
doesn't,
And,
I mean, the concept is good.
the concept here is maybe give him his building permit ultimately, but just so you know, there's a recording, a rendition
That's the only
of
thing is
all the
we got a
problems
layer, but I
that
don't-
people know historically.
Everybody-
You're proceeding at your own risk at this point,
Yeah,
right?
so it's GED
You're
or
relying on your
NAC
engineer,
maybe.
whatever it takes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
don't
more power to
come
him
to
if he wants to get it done, but just,
And I thought there was a place that I
Is it-
could.
If a mobile home
find
is sinking,
those
try
on
put in
their
a
website,
big
but I was having a hard
cement
time
foundation and.
like to figure out what was.
How about a high rise? We have to say
Well,
change the
actually,
zoning.
I thought about that. If you built like a 10-story building there, then as it sinks, you could just go in the next.
by the time you're old enough to where you can't do the stairs anymore, you'd be ground level.
Yeah, you wouldn't have to worry about stuff.
Travis, why didn't you just buy that lot and then we wouldn't have this problem?
Well, the problem is it used to be part of my place.
I know it
Those-
did.
Those people bugged my granddad for years and years and years, and finally he had a bad year and sold it to him. For probably $400 or something.
Is there any mining out there at all?
There's gravel just
Gypsum?
to the north of there.
Gravel's over
No.
here.
Can I, have the value of zero reflected in my taxes?
No.
Please? 'Cause I gotta go pay those right now, 'cause I forgot to.
I'm sorry.
Oh, shoot.
Online,
Forgot to.
online it is a value of zero unless you pay for that function, then you can see the value.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Remember, we set that up, so
Yeah, I know.
realtors and stuff pay a
I wanna be able to see. the-
fee to be able to see more information.
Okay.
If not, it's
It's a
just like,
revenue generating.
yeah, cause if
operation.
not, it's just the basic, like, you know, who owns it, whatever, but, we have an option that people can have a login. And if they pay that additional fee, it
I've never
helps
been that
pay for
bored
the
or
system,
nosy, it don't cost
basically.
too much.
So they don't have to come up here as much to get information, but they have to pay for it.
And what kind of information do they get?
It's like all your taxable value stuff. The same that you, like, if you walked upstairs and asked the EQ for it, they would share it with you. But it's just a form of.
You go back to that map once.
Uh-huh.
So even, my grandparents' house, their old house, and I lived there for a while too, is east of there. Right at just south of Cox's Lake. And the yard of that house, the house has been pretty stable there. But the yard will actually, like in the springtime, it will hump and heave 2 to 2.5 feet.
I'll be darned.
Like just these frost boil things come out there and it's just the weirdest ground. It's so crazy. And the soil is incredibly variable. Like there's way more breaks in it than what the NRCS maps show. But that whole corner of my place over there is just, it's weird.
Is it really fun in the springtime when you get lots of water and try to hay?
Well, I've had a lot of times where you're like, you can go with the swather and cut the hay and you turn around and come back and there's a hole like the size of a pickup that just shows up where you just drove.
That's scary.
Yeah.
It'd be comforting, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
$140,000 swather.
Yeah.
I've seen that, it was going uphill for a long time.
Just the header's wide enough, it'll hold you up.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Keep your seatbelt on.
So it's pretty interesting.
You need an injection seat on your tractor.
Yeah. And the amount of water that can go, those 2 different holes, there's one right, go left a little bit, a little more, right where that field makes a little jag, right there, yep. There's a hole right there that, I mean, in the springtime, when we get a deep snow and there's a lot of water running off, you know, when it warms up a Chinook wind or whatever, it is incredible how much water can run down that hole. And just, I mean, it never backs up.
Where's the
There's-
hole at?
There's one
You
right
can turn on the contours.
here. I'll go down a little bit.
Right above.
Yeah, it's right in here.
No, I'm not turning.
And then there's another one just over the hill up here in this other field.
Oh, you're going up.
Yeah, go up. There's another one right here. And I assume that they hook together underground. And, but yeah, the amount of water that can disappear down those holes is.
Could be a big lake under there.
Somebody
Oh,
said
yeah,
years ago
sure.
that Mirror
You
Lakes were
can,
connected.
sometimes you can stand on the ground and hear water running.
Well, when the Black Hills runs out of water, we'll be tapping you for it.
Yeah.
Is USGS
Probably why
ever
it
out
has
there?
Yeah.
I don't know. Not that I recall, but probably at some point when they were doing all the soils mapping and stuff.
We've had those form in our A field and you can hear the irrigation water just runs in there. And I mean, that, you can put a lot of water in there from the irrigation and just never fills up.
Yep. Yeah, it's that corner right there is really.
Aliens.
Yeah.
They're living underground.
That's
And you
it,
can see
all right.
there's a gyp outcropping there that you can see, but there's little, I mean, there's gypsum all over the place. And then on that lot, right on the bottom of that draw is where there's a big stream of water coming out of there that wasn't there before the well caved in.
So where, since you've got it big now, so where was the mobile home that
It was right there, wasn't it?
No, it was on right here. Over here.
Right over here. Okay. I remember when they tried to pull one of the
Mhm.
trailers
Oh, yeah.
out of there, it fell off the wheels.
And then he filled in, you can
I
see
remember
this
that.
hole where it was, that was probably 8 feet deep right there, that little spot, and he filled that in with the skid steer. And then he's mined out a bunch of this, the old house foundation is right in here.
Well, we sure don't want to end up like Meade County in that deal with the state.
Wow, somebody somewhere knew about
And
that.
he says, well, it's because they did a crappy job on that foundation, and I was like, well, yeah, but it used to be up there. Like that, they maybe did a crappy job, but
If it's gonna take a whole house, it doesn't matter if your foundation's.
yeah. It was concrete footings and basement floor and then cinder block walls, but the whole thing just down the hole.
Wasn't the weight because the trailer was a lot lighter and doing the same thing.
Well, yeah, and then the trailer was actually on the ends of it were solid. And then in the 60 feet in the middle was where it was sinking down. So,
Strange.
yeah, it's an interesting.
I didn't know we had things like that around.
We've had a few over the years, but not like this.
Haven't they tried to find the bottom, is it Cox's Lake or whatever, and
Yeah.
never could figure it out?
Yeah, that's the lower. My uncle, when he got out of the Marines, went scuba diving like 82 feet before he got scared.
Before you got scared, you
Yeah.
came back up. I don't think I'd want to go that deep,
Right?
especially not in a muddy, icky
Oh, and it's not
lake.
that, it's not very far
I mean,
across either.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you pretty much
good.
gotta go straight down.
Yep,
And it's murky too. You can't see anything when you go down there.
that's what he said. It got really scary down there.
Yeah, you don't know which way you're headed.
But there's, I mean, I don't know how much water runs in Lake Creek there, but there's a pretty good stream coming out of Cox's Lake.
Does there?
Out that north side there. I bet there's 2,000 to 3,000 gallons a minute.
Really?
And then in the wintertime, it doesn't freeze over. There's so much water coming out. I mean, it just steams in the wintertime.
Wonder if the School of Mines would have any documentation on that.
Maybe.
Hello?
Okay. Any other items from planning and zoning board members? Okay. Meeting adjourned.